What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome to another episode of Traveling to Consciousness. I am your host, Clayton Kidary, and today I am joined by a little bit more of a unusual guest, someone who isn't specifically in the spirituality space, but he has used his consciousness and awareness of psychology for financial gains in a realm that we all need to be conscious of. He has counted over millions of dollars from what I've seen online, and we'll see if that's accurate by John's story. And he did his time, and now we're going to figure out how it's done. And so, for us to dive into that world, let's all welcome John Boseak to the Traveling Consciousness podcast. So, John, what's up? Thanks for being here.
Hey Clayton, thanks for having me.
So did I get that right? Was it millions of dollars?
Uh, roughly 3.5, give or take.
Dang.
Yeah.
So I always start off at the beginning. I always am fascinated with
hmm
people and how they get on their life's path because it's different for everyone. What
hmm
was the first thing you wanted to be whenever you grew up? Was there, maybe a teacher, a parental figure, a parent who asked you that question when you were young?
No, there wasn't too many discussions being had in my youth about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Uh, you know, uh, the influences that were predominant in my life from a very young age weren't necessarily the most positive. So I picked up a lot of bad habits growing up. They say that the first 7 years of a child's life is the most important. It's when they're soaking up a lot of knowledge and a lot of behavioral patterns that are gonna produce whatever fruits they're gonna produce later on down the line.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that some of the things that I picked up in that period of time weren't the best, I think.
Yeah, that's something that I know we've discussed on here before is like that, that developmental stage of a child's life is so impactful. I think it was
Yeah.
some religious group that they talked about how uh, give me a boy between the ages of 0 and 7 and I'll make him a man. And the whole
Yep.
premise is that like you shape your form of the world and your understanding of reality from those early years.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with that for sure.
So I mean, what were like some of those things that like you think occurred that set you down this path in life?
Uh, well, I'd have to say maybe there was just a lot of chaos. I think early on in my life, moved a lot. My mother was, a single parent, worked two jobs, and I was lucky in I think the aspect that I didn't really experience a whole lot of abuse as a child, and I know that's prevalent through a lot of people's lives, but I didn't experience that. There wasn't a whole lot of physical abuse or mental abuse or drug abuse or none of that, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that my mother, she was never like a real hardcore drug addict or alcoholic or anything like that, and I kind of feel like she always tried to do her best job, um, kind of raising me and my little brother, but it was just like she couldn't be there
Yeah.
and so the people who were there weren't always necessarily the best people to have around. My uncles, both of which were maniacs, just drinking a lot, partying a lot. So I seen a lot of real wild shit growing up as a kid. A lot of real wild parties and conversations that went on, that I probably shouldn't have been around. And that just helped. It affected my worldview. It shaped my view of the world and how I associate it with people and how I processed information, I think.
That's, I mean, super fascinating. And I'm really interested in
Yeah.
seeing how you kind of made that shift, in your life and how you were able to evaluate that. But before we jump into that, I think it would be
Sure.
super helpful or like to get a little bit of a timeline of, um, since this is kind of about, money, where
Mhm.
was like your first viewpoint of like how I'm going to make money, or what was kind of like your mindset in relation to money and how you were going to navigate this wild and crazy world?
Just throughout life, you mean my journey of, financial?
Well, I mean, like at
Um,
the beginning, right? Like when was, do you have like a memory of maybe the first time you thought like I need money, or, how am I gonna,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
get that stuff, they get that
oh
ball
yeah,
rolling?
of course, yeah. I grew up poor, but I didn't realize it until I was a teenager.
Okay.
Because as you're a kid, you're innocent. You don't understand anything. But when I became a teenager and I started going to high school and I started seeing kids who have stuff, you know what I mean? And then there was kids who didn't have shit,
There's like
and
a
I would just happen to
comparison
be,
game.
yeah. And that's what really opened my eyes to, okay, how is this going on? And then, okay, kids had rich parents, and then I found out about, how much people's parents make and in relation to how much my mother had made and, where I grew up. And then, you start, man, that started my relationship with money. It's just started as I didn't want to be ostracized by my peer group. I didn't
Right.
want to be the one. I didn't want to be the kid being picked on for having the bummy clothes and stuff. So,
Was it
and my mother, she couldn't buy any of that stuff for me. My mom, she paid the bills, and we ate, but there wasn't a whole lot of extra.
right? I mean,
There,
just from the little, or I guess the awareness that I have with, single mother, upbringings,
yeah,
it's crazy how difficult it is. I mean, God bless your mom for being able to,
yeah,
get two kids going, I guess. And so that's, crazy in of itself. And so did you
yeah.
find like there was like this pressure where you needed to kind of help out your mom in the financial regards of things, or
No, not so much. I was more selfish, I guess. Like I just wanted the nice clothes, and I wanted a new bike, and I wanted to go skating every weekend, and I wanted to go hang out at the mall. You know what I mean? Like, because this may sound crazy, but I was never taught that to help my mom pay bills, or that just I
sure.
was never taught I was never taught that value. My mother just wasn't around, and the people that I were around, they just weren't teaching me those kinds of values. So I just became selfish at a very young age.
Well, I mean, and
You know, s-
to cut yourself some slack, like I feel like we all, at least at some level, go through that, and maybe some people just continuously go through that, where it's a very egocentric, me orientated, like where am I? How am
yeah,
I going to be perceived? Where's that next?
yeah,
How am I going to get to
yeah,
X thousand followers? How am I? It's
yeah,
all about me.
yeah, yeah. A lot of that, and then a lot of that just develops into like a severe narcissism later on in life.
Right.
Unfortunately, but I think that's where it starts at, in childhood. And if that's not checked, or some kind of consequences come that you don't learn from, throughout your journey, then later on in life that just becomes very difficult to overcome.
Yeah, and it's reminding me kind of like a big thing. I train jujitsu, and it is insane. Like you go in there knowing something, but like if you're going up a kid that's like 16 years old and he's been training since he was 2, he'll put you in a pretzel, and you're like, it'll really put your ego in line, because you're like,
Yeah,
you come to realize like we all have these different beginnings, these different, we're all at different places in our journey, and whether it's with jujitsu or finances or
yeah,
intelligence,
yeah,
it like it really shows you, when your ego is coming into play and you're doing things for selfish reasons.
yeah.
So whenever you were, I guess, so how did you make, let's say this, how did you make your first buck? Was it through nefarious activities, or was it,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah. It was. I remember watching that movie New Jersey Drive, and I'm not know if you're familiar with that
I'm
movie,
not.
but it's back in like the late 80s, early 90s. New Jersey was the car theft capital in America. And there was a car stolen like every 5 or 6 seconds or something like that back
Jeez.
then in New Jersey. Yeah, it was an epidemic. And I remember watching that movie, and I remember I was too young to steal cars, obviously, but in my mind, I was like, I could do that with bikes.
Okay.
And so I went out one night by myself, and I think I stole like 30 or 40 bicycles or
Wow.
something like that. It was a lot. It
Where
was,
were
I
you growing
remember,
up, for reference?
I grew up, so I was born in Detroit,
Okay.
Michigan, but I grew up in South Florida.
Okay.
So I grew up in like, Homestead, Kendall area, like South Miami. Um,
and I went to college in Orlando, but was there like a in that area of my or of Florida? Would it be um like super wealthy next to not so fortunate people, like poorer people, or was it like pretty evenly
you
distributed?
did you did have that juxtaposition, um, but it wasn't as bad as it is now,
Okay,
I would think. I don't think the gap, I mean, there's always been a wealth gap
right,
in every major city in America, but I think back then in the late 90s, well, no, this had to have been early 90s. It wasn't how it is today, you know. But that's a whole different story of,
right.
the South Florida coming out of the cocaine 80s and into the 90s, and you know,
It goes on a wild
that's
turn.
a
Yeah,
that's a whole nother
let's
podcast.
yeah, let's get back to the bikes. Let's get back to the 30 or 40 bikes.
Yeah, so I went out one night by myself, and dude, I just stole a crap load of bikes, and I hid them all in the woods by my house, and I was pulling them out one by one. My mom was at work, and I'd bring one up to my room, and I would take it all apart, and I had all these bins full of bike parts
Okay,
just everywhere. And I just started, selling bike parts, selling frames. I would mix and match the parts. I would, and I remember that's how I made enough money. I bought brand new roller skates because I was into roller skating at the roller rink. I went to Foot Locker and I bought a bunch of basketball jerseys and the Nikes, and yeah, I remember that was it. That's where after that it was like a disease. It
really?
was just like an infection after that.
What do you mean when you say it was like a disease or an infection? Like it was something you just had to get more of, like an adrenaline rush?
It just occupied my mind constantly. How can I make more money? What can I do next? What kind of operation can I put together to make it bigger,
It's like, how do you take this to the next level?
Yeah.
And so I'm really fascinated about how you were able to pull off stealing 30 to 40 bikes in a night. Were these things like chained up or were they just like sitting around?
Yeah, I had bolt cutters. I had a pair of bolt cutters with me, and I had one bicycle, or I left on foot, and then just from being a kid, I know how to ride like three bicycles at
Oh,
once.
really?
I put one bicycle on the handlebars, and I can have another one holding it out to the side like this while I'm riding one.
Jeez.
So yeah, I could steal three bicycles at once if I wanted to. And so I'd throw one in the handlebars and I'd ride it to my spot in the woods where I was stashing them. I'd throw them and I'd go out and get more. And like the day before, I went out and riding on my bike and I kind of just rode around and made a mental note of where all the bicycles were that I wanted to get. Like all the good
Make like a
ones.
path of it.
Because I knew what was good and what way I knew like a Kmart bicycle isn't as good as like a Mongoose or a Haro or whatever. So I knew where the expensive bicycles were. And I just went one night and I just got them all.
That's wild. And so that's, how did you figure out like which bikes were more expensive? Did you do research on it beforehand?
Oh, I was just into BMX
Oh,
bikes.
okay.
I've been riding bicycles my whole life, and all the kids know what's what when you're out there doing that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
that's pretty wild.
I think I was like 11 or 12 years old when I did that.
11 or 12. That's pretty
Yeah, I was
crazy.
11 or 12.
And so
Yeah.
I guess it sounds like it was a combination of the upbringing and then mixed it with that movie that kind of just set off this chain reaction that you were like, okay, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, see, I wasn't taught that that was wrong. I mean, I knew it was wrong, but those kind of morals and values just weren't instilled into me growing
For
up
sure.
up until that point. So, my conscience wasn't like there was no warning bells going off. I was able to um, justify my actions and then compartmentalize all of the negative thoughts that I was having, and then just go and do whatever I needed to go and do.
That's interesting.
And that kind of just turned into a pattern throughout my
And
life.
so I guess the way you said that was like you would compartmentalize negative thoughts and then what you needed to do. Did you feel like there was
Yep.
like a separation that you were making in your brain with it, or
Uh, justification. I would just justify myself whatever I was doing, and then like I said, compartmentalize all the bad feelings and negative thoughts, put them away, and then just commit the act.
gotcha?
Um,
And so that would
and
have
I,
been kind of like how the ego almost would it be like the ego was almost taking over in that situation?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know so much I would call it ego. It's just this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
And I mean, again, yeah.
Well, and I guess
Ego plays a part.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I'm pointing to the ego because in my mind, I guess I didn't vocalize it, is the attachment to like the how can I make this bigger? Like I guess you were just following something, and then you were like, maybe that's where the ego came in. It was like, how do I make this bigger?
Yeah.
And so then what was your first inclination of how do you make that bigger?
Um, well, I just got to figure out how to scale the operation. I involved two or three more kids in it, and it just turned into like a whole thing. And I ended up eventually getting caught, and that was my very first time getting put on probation.
Okay. And
I was like 11 or 12, got put on probation for stealing bikes. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And so what was is the probation just like, you can't be I guess I'm not very familiar with what probation is. It's just you can't do certain
Youth
things.
probation, they got all these programs they put you in. They make you go to counseling and they figure out what areas of your life you need help in and all that crap. But it's just like by that time I was already wild.
Yeah.
Like 12, 13. That's when I started getting real wild when I was 13, you know.
So you were on
Um,
probation. So you started that when you were 11. You got on probation when
yeah.
you were like 12ish.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, 11, 12.
And
Yep.
then when you went through these counseling sessions, was everything just like
Oh, it was a
it was a
joke.
joke? It wasn't. It didn't make
Yeah, no, I
sense.
didn't
Yeah.
internalize any of it. I didn't listen to any of it. It was one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wasn't trying to hear none of that shit. In hindsight, man, it would have fucking changed my whole life. It would have helped me, but I wasn't trying to hear it, dude. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Your
Fuck
life
them.
had other plans.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't trying to hear
and
it.
so and so then
Um,
around 13 you said that your life just got wild. What started to occur then?
I violated that, so I got put on probation for that, and I was like 11 or 12, and I remember violating that probation. I had a handgun, and I was in a stolen vehicle. Now I didn't steal the vehicle, but it was one of my buddies, and they came and picked me up, and I had the handgun. I always, for whatever reason, I've always just had a handgun since I was like 13 years old on, all the way up. And yeah, I got caught with a handgun and a stolen vehicle, and they sent me to juvenile hall, and this was somewhere like around 1997, 1998. Um, and that just started me on a whole trajectory.
Just down the rabbit hole
Yeah, I think that was the catalyst, that was the moment that, set me down the
when
path
that snowball just started taking off. Do you feel like
yep, yep,
do you feel like there was something about like being around people in juvenile hall that like sent you down that path further or
changed everything. Yeah, because, up until this point, I had been a relatively, soft, suburban upbringing.
okay.
We didn't really live in that rough of a part of town. I hadn't really experienced extreme poverty in my life, like a lot of these kids had. I was still a hard-headed. I still had a mouth, and I thought I was tough, but being put into this situation with people who were like real tough. These kids were in there for like carjacking and armed robbery, and one kid set his mom on fire,
Holy
and
shit.
another kid. It was crazy. Like these kids were
Jeez.
nuts,
Yeah.
and they were all 13, 16. It was 18. It was 13 to 18.
Fuck, man.
You know, and what do you do? Them fucking kids ate me alive in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They smelled blood in the water as soon as I walked in the fucking door. They knew I was soft.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I got eaten alive in that fucking place, and that changed everything. It changed my whole attitude. I came out with a chip on my shoulder, and I just wanted to fight everybody, you know, um, and I just wanted to commit more crime.
Would I guess you don't have to go into the specifics if you don't want to, but like,
Yeah, no, no,
was
that's
it
fine.
what happened that like made you tougher? Was it just the fact that you're around that element and you're like, oh, like I need to like almost compete with these guys? Like how did that kind of send you down a stronger, deeper rabbit or path, let's say, or negative path?
Um, it was just a reality check, man. Like because you're sitting around with these kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for however long you're in there. So all the conversation that they're talking about, all they're talking about is selling drugs and gang banging and how they used to break into this house and steal the guns here and armed robbery over here, and then and but they didn't talk about it like it was a bad thing. They
Oh,
they talked about it like it was fucking like it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like it was they glorified it.
Okay.
They glorify all this behavior was being glorified. You know, and so here I am. I'm like 13 years old. I've
Right.
never had previous to this point. There have been no male role models in my life at all.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't have any older brothers. No, my dad wasn't around. My uncles were just partying. They weren't teaching me shit.
Yeah.
You know. So up until this point, it had been just me and figuring shit out on my own from the kids in the neighborhood and MTV and whatever. So now I have people that I'm around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're talking to me, and I'm having conversations with them. And they're teaching me about stealing cars, and they're teaching me about getting money over here and doing this. Nobody's talking about anything positive.
Right.
Nobody's talking about getting good grades in school and learning mathematics and figuring out how to because dude, the internet didn't exist at this time. I mean, it did, but it wasn't like what it is
Right.
now. Kids weren't coding. Kids weren't, you know what I mean? There was kids who didn't want to be engineers and fucking scientists and none of that shit. So it just wasn't.
You couldn't find other like material to either support or negate kind of your ideology, and so it was like this is what you
There was
have.
nothing.
Yeah.
The only influence I was getting were from these kids that I was around, in what eventually ended up being a series of group homes and institutions and boysvilles and youth centers and through like the next 10 years of my life, I think
Man.
10 or 12 years of my life.
Which
Yeah,
is wild too, because if you got in there at like the age of 13, and I'm trying to think back when I was 13, I feel like there's a huge like what's the word I want to look for? You kind of look up to kids that are 17 and 18 a lot more than you would look up to somebody
even
that's
16,
yeah, yeah, for sure. You would look up
even
you give them
16,
so much more validation or so much more like glorification than you would someone that's, 40 or 50.
because that's yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you know, there it was. I was being programmed.
Right.
They stuck me in these institutions because my mom didn't know what to do with me. She couldn't control me.
Right.
So her solution was just to hand me over to the state,
Well,
and hopefully they can help me out.
right. Yeah, because if it's not her, I mean, she's at the end of her rope. She's pulling all these different threads. What
Yeah,
was going on with your brother? Are you older than him? You're
yeah.
older than him.
3 or 4 years older than him.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What was he up to? Was he kind of a similar path, different
Uh,
path?
no, he's do we have different
Okay.
dads? Um, he's always been my complete polar opposite of me. I've always been more outgoing and loud and but he's more inward, more quiet, more and so we are just went down two completely different paths
Okay.
until our paths met up again and we got into some shit and then they went separated again, but we can
All
get into
right.
all
Yeah. Let's say a little
that.
teasier for later.
Yeah. He's always a good kid, bookworm,
Okay.
nerdy, computer geek, because he came up in the generation where he got into the internet while I was incarcerated, and so he got to experience all of that, whereas I
Would you have
didn't.
had internet access at any point during your incarcerations? No.
Nope.
No.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
None of that.
So, I guess in my mind, like you're at the age of 13 right now, and at this point, would this, so would you have been incarcerated at this point for breaking your probation with the gun in the car at this age? And that's when they were like, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to go to this juvenile hall.
Yep.
Okay, and then so that transformed. And you said you started bouncing around a bit. Um, so what happened after that incarceration? You got out and you had this chip on your shoulder, like, oh well, I need to
Yeah.
push this to the
So
next level.
they sent me away for 10 months on that one.
Okay,
They sent me to a place called Boysville, Andre House. And so I went there for like 10 fucking months and I got out and everything was all right for, I could say a couple of months, man. And then I just realized that, once again, I'm poor. And then, man, as a teenager, dude, it's so tumultuous inside of your head as a teenager, because you don't have enough life experience to really understand what the fuck is even happening to you.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean? And you don't have enough knowledge of the world to really try and figure things out to where you're going, because you don't have any past experience to draw from,
right.
you
And
know.
you only have so
So I kind of
much.
feel like I was just, yeah, I kind of feel like I was just lost in the sauce for a few years, man, to where I just didn't really understand what I was doing or where I was going. And, You know what I mean? Like I was just acting out like violently. I started hanging out with, the kids that I thought were cool,
Right.
which obviously were not people I probably should be hanging out with, and um,
Looking
I started stealing cars, and it was wild,
looking
man.
back, do you feel like there was any points whenever you had like a warning bell or like some sort of like alarm go off that was like, hey, something's off here, like, hey, you should be looking somewhere else, or was there any of that involved, or was it kind of just all
You
speed ahead?
mean should I be trying to do like something with my life that's positive and not negative?
Um, yeah, I guess so, but like, some sort of I guess maybe intuition or instinct of just like something's off about this, something's wrong here, like,
About the way I'm living or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah, like the way you're viewing the world, maybe even.
I didn't wake up until I was about 18 or 19 years old,
Okay.
and that's when I started realizing that man, something's wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I'm not making good decisions. That I keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. I expect, you know what I mean, like different
Right.
results. I expect, it's just, but it's the same thing. So it's like I'm not learning from my mistakes. And I did a long stretch. I was locked up from I think January 6th, 2003, and I didn't get out until February 6th of like 2004. And that was really like a real transformative year for me. Um, Mentally and physically. Because I was put in a facility to where I spent just a lot of time alone. For whatever reason, it was just how the program was.
Okay.
And I came out that in 2004, I came out that year with a little bit different, a better understanding of like I need to make some changes, you know.
That's pretty early.
So I
I
think
mean,
that
18 is pretty early to like have that awareness.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had been through
A lot.
an
Yeah.
extraordinary amount. It's just from 13 to 18 it's mind-boggling what I went
Well,
through.
let's jump into a little bit of that then. Let's not put the
Sure,
cart before the horse.
sure.
I love the part where the story turns around, but let's build it up a little bit more. Um, so 13, you got out of juvenile hall, and then you said you started getting into stealing cars. Was that the next
Yeah.
big ticket item on the list?
Yep.
So what did you have like a crew that you kind of ran with, or was it just you on your own?
Um, I had met a kid who knew how to steal cars, and I begged him to teach me, and he taught me. He went out in the backyard, and he had like his dad had like a bunch of cars in the backyard that just didn't run, and he took a screwdriver and he went and he showed me on a couple of the cars how to do it. So then I went out a few times with him, and me and him, stole one. And then I started going out by myself, and like the first couple times I couldn't do it. Like I would break something, and like all the lights in the car would start going off, and I'd have to jump out and run. And eventually, I was able to steal my very first car. It was like a Dodge Neon, and
Was there
after
was there like a
that,
sense of accomplishment when you pulled that off?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I drove it for like 3 days, and everybody's like, "Man, you got to get rid of that car. You got to." I was driving it everywhere,
Yeah.
because yeah.
But then it's like, that
So
car's hot. You got to you can't be holding
yeah,
on to
yeah,
that.
ditch it and get a new one. Yeah, so I just that's what got me. I just started stealing cars. I was like 30, I couldn't even see over the steering wheel most
Jeez.
times.
Did you have a driver's license?
Yeah. 13?
No. Oh
No.
yeah, it's like
Hell no.
16, right? Learner's permit.
Yeah.
Geez, so you
I didn't even get my driver's license the first time until I was like 26 or 25 or 26 years
Jeez,
old.
man, that's wild.
Yeah.
So I mean, based on the story, you were learning to hotwire cars before you even knew how to drive them.
Oh, I had no idea
Yeah.
how to, I mean,
Yeah.
I had driven a couple times. I, been out in the street, so yeah, but a big flathead screwdriver, man. That's it. That's all you would need back then. Now it's more complicated,
Right,
but
with the technology and
yeah,
everything. That's wild, man.
yeah,
And so then, did you start an operation with, hot, what's it called? Wiring cars or lifting cars and then selling them?
yeah. The kid who taught me how to steal cars, he knew where to get rid of them, you
Okay.
know. And once I went down there, I met with those people. They love me, because I've always been told throughout my life that I have charisma, whatever that may
I
mean,
can
you
feel
know.
it.
So people are just drawn to me, you know. Throughout my life, I run into people and they just want to fuck with me, you know. And so he took me down there. He introduced me to these people, and they just liked me right away. And that, you know, that just, then I just took off. I was stealing 8 cars a day, five, six, seven, 8 cars a day.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah,
And did you enjoy
yeah.
doing it? Like, was it like a passion for you?
It was the greatest thing I had ever, you know, experienced in my entire
Yeah.
life. Yeah, I was
Damn.
obsessed.
And then I'm
Yeah,
guessing there was probably an element of these older male figures, I'm assuming, who were re-encouraging it too. Like, they loved working for you, they loved what you were doing, and I'm sure you heard a ton of praise whenever you were pulling it off.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so just build that like re-encouragement almost.
yeah. I remember I stole 3 cars in an hour and a half one time, and they told me I had to stop bringing fucking cars down here. I had to leave and don't come back for a week because you're making it too hot.
Jeez. I'm sure that was
Because
music to
I,
your ears.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was like I said, I was stealing so many cars that they just told me I had to stay away. I couldn't bring any more cars over there.
Jeez, man. Did you have to find somewhere else
Yeah, it
then
was
to take
wild.
them?
I just stopped
You
for a
just
while,
stopped.
or I would just, you know, steal them when I got bored and, you know, take them out into the woods and drive them through trails and shit like that.
Damn.
Yeah, destroy them.
Really? That's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
And I was 13, 14. I was like about 14, 15 doing this now. This is, you know, over the span of maybe a
Oh, we're
year and a
only
half
at
or
we're
whatever.
only at 2 years into the turnaround. Jeez. So then
Yeah.
what was your next pivot? Was there an event that occurred that pivoted you off of
I
cars?
got incarcerated
Okay.
again.
For stealing
Yeah.
cars?
So for reference, so between the age of 13 and 19, um, I was only out maybe 1 or 2 months every year.
Okay.
So it was 10 months out of every year I was incarcerated, pretty much. You know, and then I'd finish the program, I'd get out, I'd be out for a month, 2 months, maybe three, and then I'd get it back. I'd go right back to juvie, and they'd send me off to another program, and it'd be every program you go to is like a 9 or 10 month ordeal, you
Okay.
know?
And then just by doing
Yeah.
it, they just like you just checked enough boxes and you're just like, all right, I'm out of here.
Well, yeah, you know, you've been here. Okay, there's like a program, so you got to reach this level by completing, you know, this steps and doing that, and they feel like you're ready to go on to the next level. And most programs are like 5 levels or whatever. And by the fourth level, you're going home every weekend. You're playing, you know, oh yeah, I'm gonna do good, and then
Yeah.
yeah, they kick you out. Oh yeah, they have this big ceremony where they graduate and they send you home, and you go to the judge, and the judge releases you, and then 3 months later, I'm fucking right back in front of the same
Just
goddamn
running
judge, and
it,
he's sending me back
just
to
doing it again.
yeah. It was for me, it was a revolving
Right.
door. For like 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
So then two questions here. I guess the first one would be is like was it carjacking like all you were doing for those ages 13 to 18?
A lot of home invasions. I wouldn't say home invasions 'cause I never home invaded anybody while they were home. Thank God. But I used to do a lot of break and enterings, a lot of shoplifting, commercial burglary, you know, vandalism, auto thefts, you know, just all around fucking
The
bad
run of the
dude, you
mill.
know. And it was like I was never violent though. You know what I mean? Like there's violent
Right.
criminals and then there was me. You know what I mean? I was just a fucking
Right.
thief. Period. I would if it wasn't bolted down, I was trying to fucking steal it.
Right. Right.
You know, but I never got violent. I never armed robbered anybody. You know, I never stuck up anybody at gunpoint my entire life. You know, I would never, you know, like I said, I wouldn't go in your house if I knew you were home.
Oh, I mean
Nothing
that's
like
a
that.
that's a pretty powerful silver lining, right? You know.
I mean, you know, I was still a scumbag, but it was like there's different
Right.
levels, and I was, you know, not saying that what I was doing was cool or anything like that, but it was like, you know,
Thankful that it wasn't worse. Thankful that it wasn't,
yeah,
the
I wasn't the guy fucking stabbing you. You know what I mean?
and I'm
Like,
sure you
I wasn't.
I'm sure you were
Yeah.
around them at some point in time too, which is the craziest part.
Oh, plenty of the guys I hung out with were those
Yeah.
guys. You know.
And
Yeah.
was there
So.
so then if you never went to that violent place, like was there going back to that like warning bell system, was there something that told you that like this isn't for me? Like, you're kind of and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, like, you're in this situation with these guys who are quote unquote similar to you because you're in the same juvenile hall. But
Mhm.
was there something in your mind that like separated you that was like, well, I'm not going to do it to somebody else. I understand what I'm doing, but I would never take it to a violent place like they do.
Um. You know, I've always felt like I was been a little bit smarter than everybody else. Um. not being, not, not talking myself up or anything like that, but I always knew that when I hear somebody talk or I have a conversation with somebody, I automatically know where their intelligent level is. I know how they process information, so I can kind of guesstimate how, just what kind of people they are. And I've always felt like I've had an advantage over people. Just by having a conversation with somebody, I can tell if I have an advantage over you or not, mentally.
Sure.
And just having not maybe just maybe not based off one conversation, but based off of many conversations or based off of dealing with somebody on a daily basis. So it was like I just knew better, man. Like I knew that there was a line. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think I learned empathy, thank God, at a very young age somehow.
Right.
Because I wasn't exposed to like violence but at a young age. Like I didn't watch anybody like beat my mom up or like fighting or none of that stuff like that. That was never a part of my life, thank God. So I think I had empathy, and I think that was the one thing that really just stopped me from being a violent, physically violent
I
person.
mean,
It's just because I could never do that to somebody. I just like I said, I got that switch inside of me.
do you feel like your mom was a really empathetic person?
Nah, my mom was mean,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, she was a bitch, dude. She was fucking mean as a motherfucker, always yelling and screaming. But so no, I didn't really learn empathy from my mom. I think it probably came from like my grandparents or my grandmother or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had to get in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, my grandmother had a lot to do with raising me early on. She was a huge part of my life, so I think a lot of the empathy came from her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's. I mean, if there's a silver lining, I think that's it, right? That it never went to a violent place,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and so then, okay, so we kind of, I guess it sounds like between the ages of 13 and 18, you were in and out. It sounds like you got booked maybe 6 or 7 times. That'd be a fair estimate.
Oh, yeah, probably more than
More than
that.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And so then you get to 18, 18-ish range. And then was there
Mhm.
an event that occurred that you were like, why does this keep happening? Like, why does this revolving door keep revolving the wrong way?
Um, Man, I started experimenting with ecstasy and MDMA
Okay.
probably like around the year 2001, 2002. And I remember I had an overdose in
Oh
2004.
shit. On ecstasy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that event changed the rest of my life. That's when I knew right then and there that I had to stop everything that I was doing. I can't do it anymore. I can't party anymore. I can't, you know what I mean? Like it's getting serious now. Like I don't want to go to prison. Like at this point, I had been to county jail a few times. Now that I'm 18, 19, I was about done with the juvenile system. They washed their hands with me, said good luck.
Right.
So now I'm starting to go to county jail for like being drunk in public and shoplifting. So it now starts the petty shit going into my adult life. And then I had the OD in '04, overdosed.
How old would you have been then in '04?
19.
19?
Yeah, I was
And so
19 in
and so
2004.
what, like, I guess what was your experience of overdosing on ecstasy like, I guess in your physical reality and then also your mental reality.
Um, Man, I felt my body temperature skyrocket, and I knew I was ODing immediately. Like when it just came on, and like, cause I'm used to it. I'm used to the. I've been taking a lot of ecstasy. I've been not every day, but every weekend, I would go and buy like 10 or 15 pills, and I would take 10 or 15 pills, between Friday and Sunday.
Jeez, which is a lot in itself.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, it's going to raves and just partying and just all bad stuff. And as soon as it hit me, I knew something was wrong. And so my body temperature skyrocketed, my esophagus closed, and I had a seizure. My body went into convulsions.
Wow.
And so I remember forcing water down my throat. Somebody kept forcing water down my throat to keep my throat open. And I blacked out, and I would come to, and then for like a week after that, because my serotonin levels and all of the stuff going on in my brain wasn't right. I was just like not myself. It was like I had lost my mind. I was just like I would just start crying for no reason. And so once all of these things wore
Yeah.
off, Uh, that was it for me. I was like, you know what, this is I have to, this something has to change,
Something,
and that's when I just quit. I walked away from everything then, and in
just
'04. Yeah,
everything you were doing, you walked away. You just dropped it cold
yeah,
turkey.
yeah, yep, yep. I walked away from everybody I was hanging out with. Everything. I walked away from everything and everybody, and then I kind of just tried to start figuring shit out.
What did that process kind of look like? Because I mean, from the sounds of it, right? You went through this crazy near death experience. I mean, it sounds like it kind of just stripped you to your core, and then
Yeah, I still have PTSD to this day from that
oh
incident.
yeah, what does that look
Yeah,
like?
yep. I can't take any pills now, man.
Okay,
Like I can't take Tylenol, I can't take Benadryl, I can't take uh I can barely take a multivitamin,
really?
you know?
You just do you
Yeah,
just push
it's
it away, or your body just closes up and doesn't
um
allow it?
I'll get anxiety like I'm
Oh,
overdosing on
okay,
it. Like for some reason it's gonna kill me and then I have a crazy anxiety attack and it's just like this whole episode, it's like this whole thing. So yeah, I can't
your body just
it's a bummer
yeah.
now. So whenever I'm having pain or anything, I just gotta thug it out and that's it. I just deal with it and move on.
Damn. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
rough.
rough.
Yeah, that's rough in itself.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the question
No,
was.
that was you nailed it. But so then, where did it kind of that transition happen? I guess between so you're stripped apart, you're stripped down to nothing. But you can't even take pills. What
Yeah.
kind of happened with you psychologically? Of like, okay, what's the first building block? Like, where do I start? I don't, I'm getting rid of my friends. I'm getting rid of the circle I run with. I need to
Mhm.
stop everything. It's like, well, what's the first thing that you did do, or progressed to do?
Yeah. Well, I kind of figured out, I was like, well, okay, what makes me happy? Where do I find the most pleasure in life? That's not going to kill me or send me to jail. And it always went back to art,
Okay,
for me. Because it's always been something that I've turned to in moments when I was just like, in a dark place, I just draw or I paint. I just like to create. And so I was like, well, how can I make money from this? How can I use this or whatever makes me happy to kind of use that as my starting point for the rest of my life,
sure.
essentially.
And so then, where did
You know.
that rabbit hole? What was the first thing you painted?
Um, oh man, I've been painting since I was probably 8 or 9 years old.
Oh yeah, it was like a little side thing you were always
Yeah, I
doing.
remember always painting, always finger painting, hand painting, and then, being in these facilities, these juvenile facilities, you have access to a lot of like programs, like art programs and things like that, So I was painting in there like crazy. I did a whole mural on one whole hallway in one of the facilities from one end to the other. It took me like 4.5
Oh
months.
wow,
They would let me go out there and work on it for 2 or 3 hours every day. I used to do big canvases. I used to paint, canvases and stuff while I was in there. So, and I used to teach other kids how to draw and how to paint.
oh, that's super cool.
Uh, so that's always been my go-to. Art has always been my go-to. And I've been obsessed with tattooing since probably 1992 or so.
Okay,
And that's actually a pretty interesting story. I could tell that one right now.
please do.
So in 1992. There was no CVS, there was no Walgreens, like that just didn't exist yet in
And
the Midwest.
real
And there
quick,
was
you
a
would have been about 10 at this point in 92.
92, I was
7.
7.
Okay,
Yeah, I was 7 in
you're
92.
7.
And I remember I was at a Perry drugstore with my mom, and there was a gentleman in front of us, heavily tattooed. Now, in the 90s, you just didn't see people that were heavily tattooed walking
Okay,
around
right.
ever. It was like a circus sideshow kind of thing, even in the early 90s.
Interesting.
So I said, see this guy, and he had tattoos all over his neck, sleeves. He was like a big biker. I remember him having a leather vest on. He was in front of us in line, and something happened to me right then and there. I remember going home that night, and I remember taking a permanent marker and I covered my whole arm,
Really?
both of them, and like yeah, I don't remember what I just bunch of different stuff, and woke up the next morning. My mom was livid
Of course.
because she couldn't wash it off, and she had to send me to
Yeah.
school, and it just became an obsession from that point on. I was just every time like I would make my mom buy me tattoo
Yeah.
magazines. Because in the 90s that was like the only place that I could see tattoos and stuff. That there weren't any television shows. Um, I was 7, so I couldn't go to a tattoo shop.
There's no internet.
There's
All
no
right.
internet, so I used to make my mom buy these tattoo magazines for me. And I remember I had these boxes of tattoo magazines. I used to sit up all night under my blanket with a flashlight
Really.
and just looking. Oh yeah, just looking. And ever since then, yeah. So I knew that I wanted the tattoo, and I knew I wanted to be a tattoo artist, but all the fraud and all the crazy shit I was doing kind of overshadowed that for so many years of my life.
Yeah.
Until I circled back around to it at this point, when I figured I was like, I have to try and do something with my life now. That's like I said, not going to land me
All
in
right.
prison or at the
Which is
funeral
a
home.
pretty pretty important caveat.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
then I guess so you knew you wanted to be an artist, I guess, when you had this little introspection period. Did you know,
hmm
and you were like, okay, I want to be an artist. I need to make money off of it. Ideally, I guess. Was tattoo
Yeah,
artist the first thing that popped into your head?
yeah. It was. Also graphic design.
Okay.
Like even at this point, I didn't even believe that I could make money with
Yeah.
tattooing. You know what I mean? Like I knew I wanted a tattoo, but I didn't think it was possible for me to live the life that I wanted to live. Tattooing. At this point, I always looked at it like a hobby.
Yeah.
It isn't what it is today, where you got these fucking celebrity tattoo artists making $100,000 a year and they're driving around in Bentleys. That wasn't the fucking case 20 years ago when I wanted to be a tattooer. You know what
Right.
I mean? And so I was like, okay, I'll be a graphic designer because I've always been good with computers. I know how, digital art, and I could transfer what I do physically, into digitally. Um, so I was like, well, fuck, I'll go to school and be a graphic designer,
Okay.
you
So
know, and that's what I set out to do.
did you enroll in a graphic design course then?
I did. I went to the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale, got my associate's degree in graphic design, media arts.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
you,
yeah. And listen, I was homeless the whole time I went to college down there.
okay.
Like so, from the age of about 18 or 19, all the way through college up until I got graduated from college, I was homeless, dude.
Really?
You know, yeah, I had a little shitty Chrysler Sundance with a rust Mohawk and no headliner, and I lived in that car, man, for like a year, 2 years in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, going to college and just doing my thing down
And
there.
so I'm now thinking about the money aspect of this. Um, if you're boosting all these cars, you're doing all these things between the ages of 13 to 18. Was there anywhere like you kept your money, or did it end up getting like did the government take it whenever you went to jail? Like how did that all play out?
Between 13 and
Yeah.
19, oh, I never really had any real
No.
money. Oh man, listen, you can't save money when nobody's gonna, you're 17, you're boosting cars. I would boost a car, I would take the money, I'd go right to the
Okay.
mall. And I'd buy 8 pairs of sneakers and a new outfit, and then I'd go hang out, I'd buy a bag of weed, and then I'd be over here partying and we'd eating out. And by the next day I'd have to steal 2 more cars to get more money. So it was just
It
like
was just that the
yeah.
endless
Oh,
cycle.
I never stock
Okay.
I never stockpiled any real
There was
cash or
no
anything
putting it
like
away.
that. No,
It was
nothing.
when it came in, it went out. It
No.
wasn't. Yeah.
And I had like 5 different girlfriends, and I was spending money on them and taking them out to eat, and yeah, it was a
Right.
whole,
And
yeah,
just one's
yeah.
pretty
No, I never,
expensive.
I never learned the value of a dollar.
Gotcha.
I never learned the value of a dollar. I didn't learn about inflation or saving or interest rates or fucking ROIs. I didn't know at this point. I didn't know about any of that
Hey,
shit.
hey, man, you're not
You know?
alone. I didn't know about any of that whenever I was 18 either. Probably didn't learn about that till
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s. Um, but so then, I guess moving along, right? You're going to school for graphic design. How were you able to, I guess, afford something like that then?
Student
Student loans?
loans.
Okay.
Yeah, I was homeless. I got student loans. I had food stamps I was eating on. Then you get all like the student discounts for shit. So I was all the programs that I could sign up for and do. I was living off of all that
Wow.
shit. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So I took me 2.5 years to get my associate's degree. First year was kind of rough. I didn't really get to attend as many classes and get the credits I wanted to. So it took me like an extra half a semester to get it. Uh, and then something wonderful happened. So right, so at your graduating class, um, when like everybody's getting ready to graduate, they have like a job fair where prospective employers come and we all go down there with our portfolios, everything we've been working on for over the past 2.5 years, all of our projects, everything. And we stop. Everybody's got like a tent or a booth or a fucking whatever, a table, and you show them, and you take their business card, they look at your stuff, they give you information, blah blah blah, whatever. So I did all that. I went to every booth, I talked to every vendor. About 3 weeks after I graduated, I was contacted by a print company in Miami that offered me like, it was like 80 grand a year. They were gonna help me pay my student loans. I was gonna go there and be the lead graphic design artist, and work under the guy that he had like a visa and he couldn't stay here and his visa was getting ready to expire, so he was going to train me and they were going to send him back to Brazil or wherever the F they were from, and I was going to take over. Great deal. Everything went off, without a hitch. I went and worked for the company. I was there like a year and a half. They sent a dude back to his country. I worked there. Great salary. I at this point in time, they gave me like an advance and they put me in like a nice apartment in downtown Miami on Brickell. I was driving a new Cadillac. I had never had money like this ever in my
Right.
life. I just come from being homeless, living in my car for 2 years.
And then you
You
just were
know,
catapulted into this, like,
Bam.
yeah, you got it.
I oh, I'm a superstar. I get to show up for work every day and just, design graphics for like auto wraps and t-shirts. And, we were doing screen printing and all kinds of shit. It was a fun job, and I had a nice car. I got a nice apartment. I'm making good money. And then one morning I show up for work and the feds were there.
No shit.
Shut the place down. Shut the place down. Yeah.
Oh
And
shit.
the owner's wife shows up. Uh, and after we all got questioned, we're all standing in the parking lot. His wife shows up, writes me and two other employees, because we were salary, writes us both a check for the remainder of our salary for the rest of the year.
Jeez.
And she says, go and cash these right now. Don't wait. As
Oh
soon as you
man.
leave here, go to the bank and cash these. Yep. And so, now I got a little bit of money,
Okay.
but now all I have is
Well, so
debt.
what?
I
Real
still got
quick, what happened with the company? Why
the
were the feds showing up?
they were laundering
Okay.
money. The whole operation was some fucking kind of money laundering operation for some other shit they had going on down in like Brazil or Paraguay or wherever they were from.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So they
You
were,
know.
yeah. And I guess, were you even aware of this being an employee, or was this just like, whoa, like really?
No, the business was from what I seen, and I'm from the street, so I would have seen some shenanigans from a mile away. I mean, everything was being run on the up and up. All of our customers were regular. The people that all worked there were, nobody was hip to anything. I mean, his wife ran the
Okay.
company. The dude, he would come in, and I only met him once or twice, and then he was, always away doing whatever, and she would come in and run the day, take care of the day-to-day operations, and then leave because we had a shop manager that ran everything else. She would come in, sign all the checks, pay everybody, and leave.
Okay. And so it was
But
pretty,
yeah, they
yeah.
were,
That's wild that,
yeah, and I never seen the
sure,
books. I didn't,
sure.
so I don't know what kind of what the financials were. But
It's really fascinating that someone with, your background, it's like it almost like followed you, into the job.
makes sense.
Yeah,
It
right.
makes sense. That's the universe,
Yeah.
man. So yeah, so now I'm just left with debt.
Okay.
I got student loans to pay. I got a brand new car that I'm driving that I got, insurance and payments on. I got a nice apartment downtown Miami, Brickell, that I have to pay on. Um, so what do you do?
What's the
You
plan?
know,
What do you,
I needed money. I need money
right.
now. I can't. So I was like, okay, let me go and try and find another job as a graphic design artist because I got a year and a half under my belt as a lead graphic. I got quite the resume
Sure.
right now. So that's all looking good. Um, I couldn't find a job anywhere else making that amount of
No.
money, making enough money to pay everything to support the lifestyle that I was living in. Nobody wanted to pay me what they were paying me.
Right.
Now I understood why they were paying me so much.
Right.
You know
Right.
what
I
I
mean, they
mean?
had it.
Graphic designers just don't make that money. Not in
What was like
Miami,
what was the
you know.
percentage like off? Like if you were making X, it was like 20% less.
Oh, it's drastically. I mean, listen, lead graphic design artists usually start off somewhere like around maybe 45 to 50K a year,
Okay.
you know. Um, and that's being gratuitous. They gave me 80 right out the gate,
Wow. You're
you
right.
know. with an advance on, of my salary. So,
Right.
um, messed me up,
Right.
so, and it's like, I was never a drug dealer growing up. I never sold drugs. I would never really got into drugs. I partied a little bit, but I was never in that world. So it wasn't like I could just go talk to my buddy and get a kilo and, be
Right.
okay. Because that just wasn't my life. I was more used to having to use my brain and just do scams and, so that's where I went. That's where I decided to look
Is
for.
that where you started looking after this whole job thing situation happened? Is that you had this fallout and it sounds like maybe perpetuated by fear or anxiety, you then kind of flip the script and you're like, all right, well, we're going back to scams.
I had been a criminal my whole life,
Yeah.
so that's all I know.
Right.
So that's where I problem solve. Um, and yeah, so now the internet's
Mm.
advanced. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
For sure.
From way where it was when I was back doing crime. And now all of these payment systems are starting to really start to take off in the United States. This is the early 2000s, and I was just at the right place at the right time. I think I got lucky.
You got lucky in terms of finding the right scam or
Yeah, just kind of falling into the credit card shit. The online fraud and the credit card fraud and the scamming and because it was all in its infancy
right.
when I started doing it. It was just starting to everything was starting to
And so
happen.
even geez, I can only imagine the shit you could probably get away with back then compared to how much more complex it is
It was
today.
wide it was wide
Yeah.
open back then. It was like robbing banks in the
Yeah.
20s. You could do it all day long. You could drive from California to New York and rob every bank from coast to coast, you know what I mean, and never get caught.
Right.
Um, that's how it was back
So
then. It
so
was
what that
wide
kind of
open.
look like, right? What was your mindset with like, all right, like, you just got out of this high paying job. I can't find anything that's doing the same. You, kind of revert back to scamming or what you got to
Mhm.
do. What did that process look like? Like, did you need to do some research on how this was being done?
Yeah, I hopped online, man, and I just started Googling,
And all of it was there, like just,
just
hey, here's how you do this. Here's how you get.
I stumbled onto a bulletin board for fraudsters somehow. I don't remember how I got there through a couple links that somebody had posted, and I got to a message board, and then through that message board, I got to a what they called online carding forums. They don't exist anymore, but this is back in the day they did. Now it's the dark web and the onion router and all that shit. That none of that even existed
Sure.
back then. There was no dark web. There was none of
Right.
that. There was no Silk Road. This predates all of that. So there was these message boards for fraudsters, and so I signed up for every single one I could find.
Yeah.
And at that time there was like this community where people just wanted to share information. So people would just write these long tutorials on how to commit crime.
That's wild.
And, and I would just download every tutorial I could, and I kept them all on a hard drive, and I would stay up for hours. I would stay up, sometimes till the sun would come up reading these tutorials, on how to commit fraud, how to commit bank crime, how to, clone credit cards, how to, commit identity theft, how to run bank scams, how to run. It was endless. Like the amount of information that just flooded the internet back then was just
It sounds like you
endless.
were just mesmerized by it. Were you just really enthralled with understanding it?
Blew me
Yeah.
away. Blew me away because I just understood all of it immediately. Like it's all so plain in English in front of me, and I was like, wow, I get this. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
And I was so confident in it before I even pulled my first scam that I was going to be great at this.
Which is
You know what I mean? Like
dangerous.
I was going to be the
That's the
best.
dangerous part.
Yeah, I'm going to be the best at
Yeah.
this. Yeah, yeah.
And so how did that play out? Did you start like researching and implementing, or did you just do a deep dive of research before you started a scamming online?
Yeah, I just did a few months of research, man, to really figure out, you know, which direction to go in. And the carding stuff for me, I just felt like was the best direction,
And so
you
real
know.
quick, where's this in the timeline, right? So, you got released from your job and then you were looking for jobs and then you started
This is about
researching.
2005, uh, 2005, 2006.
Uh,
I started doing research on all the fraud stuff in like '05.
Okay. And so
Yep.
then,
And then I didn't really start committing fraud until about
okay.
2006.
Was that like I'm kind of interested to build a timeline here, right? So you you got released from your job in, let's say it was 2005, you were saying, and so
Yep.
then did you look for jobs for about a couple months after that, and then you researched fraud for a couple months?
Well, I was researching fraud
Okay,
while I was looking for new employment. I was doing both
okay,
simultaneously.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Because so I had a friend in Miami that kind of told me about carding, and he didn't really know. He had heard about it through somebody else, and he tried to explaining it to me, and that's what kind of was like, okay, now I know.
that's where the
Is
seed
this
was
real?
planted. And is
Exactly.
carding just
Yeah.
like making
Yeah.
a replica of somebody else's credit card?
Um, there's a couple different, there's a couple different avenues. There's virtual carding, and that's basically just ordering things online using somebody's digital information. And then you've got your in-store carding where you actually take the physical debit cards into the store and use them. So yeah,
Okay,
there's couple different ways.
okay. So if we get back to the timeline, so you were searching for a new job as you were kind of diving into this world of scams. Um,
Yeah.
at this point, if we get back to my whole, little warning signs, was there something that was as though you were like, okay, this is super easy? Did you forget about your, or like what was in your mind about going back to jail? Like, was it something that you kind of just forgot about, like that you didn't like want that, or like was it just you were just so
In
infatuated?
my mind, I could never get caught doing
Okay,
this. There's no way.
okay,
In my mind, I'm like, dude, you have to be an idiot,
mm,
to get caught doing this because it's so simple. you know
gotcha.
mask your IP address. You know what I mean? Don't put your face on cameras. Use disposable cell phones. Use throwaway emails. You know what I mean? Like cut every link between, because
Right,
if you understand internet security protocol and all of these other things, and which I did, I had a very fundamental understanding of all of this going into it. You could essentially be a ghost.
right.
You know, so I was like super cocky. Like there's just no way.
So yeah, it was you could do this and not even go to jail. So why not do it? All right,
Yeah, it was a joke. To me, it was a joke. Yeah, it wasn't even like I was committing a crime, to be honest
really,
with you. I didn't even feel like I was breaking the law, even though I was in a major
sure.
way. I didn't feel like I was.
That's fascinating. And so then from there, I guess you started going into the rabbit hole um of actually pulling off the scams. Did you hit like a certain point between like looking for a job and doing this research where you were like, all right, these jobs aren't coming in and my money's running out, like I have to start doing this?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I was like, well, my time's probably better well spent uh, doing this than doing
Okay.
that.
And so then how did
Yeah.
that transform? Like, is there a form of like psychology that goes into like, did you ask people for their credit card information, or was it more somehow like reading receipts, or like what was the process of obtaining somebody's information?
Sure. No, there were, believe it or not, there was a marketplace for all this information that I found
Yeah.
online, and there were vendors that you could contact and just tell them how many card numbers you want, what kind of cards you want, if you want them to be Visa, MasterCard, if you want them Platinum, yeah, whatever you want, and they'll sell them to you for relatively
Yeah.
cheap. Maybe $5, $10 a piece for like basic debit cards, and the credit cards were like maybe $20 a piece.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, so there's this whole online marketplace back then for all of
That's
this,
crazy.
and which I stumbled upon, and I was like,
I'm
wow.
sure in your research it wasn't hidden at all.
No, all of these sites were I found them on Google.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
insane. That's wild how like
yeah.
just open it would have been, or how like easy it
It was
was.
wide open, and it eventually there was a big operation. It was called Operation Open
Okay.
Market. It was a joint venture between the United States Secret Service and then the Russian. I don't remember what their police are called. And yeah, they took them all down. They infiltrated and was systematically one by one by one by one took them
That's
all down.
crazy. And so I guess
And then the dark web sprung up in the Silk Road, and then that was like a whole new fire they
which
had to put
is
out.
yeah, we
But
can we can get to that and down the rabbit hole
yeah,
a little bit. So I
sure.
guess then we're 2005, you just set up your first scam. I guess is artistry taking like a backseat at this point? Is there playing any role in your life at that point? No.
No, it's just a
Just a
hobby.
hobby.
It's always been, yeah, just a hobby. Yeah, something I do to pass the time or. you
Okay.
know. Yeah, it was never nothing to make money
So
with.
then at this point now, where also is your like financial understanding of ROIs, investing, stocks? Are you starting to do that? Are you thinking about doing that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I took an interest in finance somewhere around 2003, 2002, 2003 when I was incarcerated.
Okay.
They had like financial literacy classes and stuff you can take like that. So I started taking those, and I started learning, like you said, about the stock market, about investing, and um, you know, uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, a lot of different things that I had just absolutely no clue even existed. So, and one thing with me is I soak up information. It's just been something I've been able to do since a child. I can remember a lot of stuff. I can retain a lot of information. So when I started learning about finance, I was interested. So if I'm super interested in something, then I soak up all of it,
Yeah.
you know, and I take it upon myself to try and learn as much as I can,
Okay. Right.
you
You're
know.
just diving
So
down the
yeah,
rabbit
I've been
hole.
studying finance for 2 or 3 years at this point. And by the time I started getting these big checks from this job, like I knew how to manage my
Okay.
money, somewhat
Somewhat.
responsibly.
It's always a journey, right? Becoming a bit better at it.
Yeah, yeah. Now you learn as you
Yeah.
go on.
And so then, okay, cool. So you're getting your finances in order. You're understanding what to do with your money, and so then the
Hmm.
scam comes in, and
Yeah,
what was your income looking like? Was it a per monthly basis, or if you could give us a rough estimate or understanding of you how much per scam, like and then what you were doing with that money.
sure. Well, man, this is such a roller coaster with this crap because in the beginning, I really wasn't making that much money
Okay.
with it. I started doing virtual carding. So I started, buying card numbers and then ordering things online, having them shipped to addresses, and then I'd have to go and get the merchandise and resell it on eBay, um, or on Craigslist.
Gotcha.
You know, so I was just doing that, and it was like, there was no consistency to the money at all. I would maybe put in 100 orders and five of them get shipped you know
Uh,
so the success rate wasn't very high in the beginning, and it was almost so much to deter me. Anybody else would have gave up, but I'm just that way. I'm just going to keep going and going and going with it, even if I got to fail 1,000 times. That's always been how
right.
I am. So I got a system down. I figured out a good system, matching. I found like a certain bin number, which is it's a bin number is a bank identification number. It's the first 6 digits of any card. Will kind of tell you what financial institution issued the card, and what kind of
Okay.
card it is. And I found a good bin number that just started working for me, with a good zip code, and then I had like a good shipping um, routine down. So I started making a couple $1,000s a month. You know,
So, yeah.
but dude, there's so much legwork. Like in the beginning, like I realized it was just too much legwork. There's just too much involved. There's too many moving parts. And the amount of money I was making wasn't enough. I mean, it was enough to pay my bills, but it wasn't enough to live
Right.
comfortably,
Not it.
So I knew I had to either change what I was doing or I had to scale what I was doing,
Right. And I
you
mean,
know.
I guess you said you didn't really even view it as, committing a crime, but if you're only making $1,000, just for the effort that you're putting in, and then the next layer of it would be the
Yeah.
fact that, it is against the law. It doesn't seem to me to be like, like you're saying, you gotta pivot or figure out something else
Yeah.
to make it worth your while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what,
Yeah, I got into actually in-store carding.
okay.
So I went from virtual to in-store. Now I'm buying the cards, the fraudulent cards, the
You're buying the
physical
physical
card.
card
They're
in
sending to me
store or, oh,
in the
okay.
mail. Yeah, so people who make the
Okay.
cards,
So they'll take those
you know,
numbers from. They would take essentially the numbers from that marketplace, make the physical card, and you would
yes,
purchase the physical card from them.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. And I started doing that because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm not having my success rate isn't very high with the virtual carding because they're hip to it. They're a lot of the shit's getting shut down, and there's a lot of internet security protocol and all that stuff for um I forget the term I want to use, but there's just they know what's going on. Now, in-store carding is relatively new. You can get away with a lot more. And the success rate was a lot higher, and the higher ticket items I was getting, I was selling for a lot more. So now I go from making, I start buying the cards online, I start going into like, you know, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, and I'm buying big screen TVs, I'm buying laptops, I'm buying PlayStations. At this time, there was no, I was buying like the iPods, you know, the iPod touches
Mm-hmm.
and shit. And so now I go from making like 1,000 a month. Now I'm making like 5,000 a month.
Okay. Right.
You know, now my bills are getting paid, and I got a little money to play with.
Right. Right.
You know, so
All
excuse
good.
me.
Good on the rock pipe.
Yeah, I did. So
Quick water break for everybody.
yeah. Diesel Pete.
Getting to the good part of the story, it must be it.
Yeah. All right. Get
Yeah,
me
do your
some
thing,
water.
man.
I'm dying.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I'll try to just, I guess, give people interested. um, but yeah, I guess I find that super crazy how it's, and I guess I'm trying to model it and think of it in the terms of like how normal people even would just scale a normal business, right? Where it like you start off putting in so much effort at the beginning, and then you kind of get that foundation going and you keep going, and you need to start off with, honestly, maybe losing money at the beginning, and then you're just making like $1,000. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, I've put in all this effort. I, haven't really made much to make it justifiable. And then you have to scale it up and go to the next thing in the operation.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. And that's what I realized at this point, even with the in-store carding, I'm making like 5 grand a month, you know. And everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool," you know, because but I had my bills every month were like 32 or $3,300,
Okay.
you know, between my car and my and my rent
Do you
and
want to
all
take
that
you want to
stuff.
take a sec to get your throat relaxed a little
Yeah,
bit?
'cause that was that was a
Yeah,
doozy.
I can see it in your face. I'm like, oh, we could take a sec here. Stretch it out. If people don't like it, they can just hit plus 30 seconds on their devices. It's an option now, so it's not a big deal. Uh, uh, all right. All good.
Take a
All right,
break.
cool. So yeah, so just we're talking about scaling
So
that business to 5,000. You're making some more money with the in-store cards.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, like okay, I'm making 5K a month, you know. But like I said, my bills were 3,200 a month, you know. And even at this point, like I had a good fundamental understanding of finances and saving money and budgeting, but I just wasn't doing it because I was still a kid,
Right.
you know. So I'm going out, I'm partying, I'm hanging out in Miami. Now I got a little bit of money to play with. And I realized that this isn't going to last forever. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Sure.
And so the tipping point for me was me and so at this point in time, my little brother, my younger brother, he's getting older now, and he had always been with my mom,
Okay.
had been living with my mom, and me and I had just took off from my mom, and
Yeah. So
you know what
was
I mean?
he?
I had been
Yeah.
on
So was
my
he
own.
living all the way through 18? I assume he was staying at home. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's always been at home. You know, me, I had been just out wherever,
Right.
you
So
know.
at this point, he might have
And
just been
so
getting out of college, or was he still in college at this point?
he was still in college
Okay.
at this point. Yeah, he was up by Michigan. He was going to Michigan State.
Okay.
But he was something had happened, and like he needed to leave Michigan, and he would just it was taking a break from college. So he came down to Florida to stay with me,
Okay.
and I get him doing the carding shit.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I get him sucked into it,
Right.
and so me and him were at a Walmart one day, and we go back there to buy a laptop, and the guy asked for the credit card, and then he asked for the ID for the credit card. And we had an ID to match the card. Um, and he picks up the phone and says, "We got a code red back here at electronics." In my mind, I knew what the deal was right away. I'm like, we're fucked. So I turn around, I get on my phone, I play like I'm talking, and I start walking towards the
Okay.
exit of the Walmart. And I remember the doors open, the doors open, and here I hear like flip flops because my brother was wearing like thong fucking flip flops, and I hear flip 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 flip, and my little brother just blows past me, and he's getting chased by two
Oh
dudes, right?
shit.
One guy tries to grab my shirt, and I knock his hand away, and I kind of did like a spin move, and I just bolted out of the parking lot. And I went and hid in the woods next door, and my little brother got picked up and went to jail. I got away.
Damn.
I hid in the woods for like 3 hours, and then got my car and drove home, and I had to like bail him out of jail. It was like this whole thing, and that's when I was like, okay, this is getting kind of dangerous now,
Right.
you know. And that wasn't the first time I had been ever chased out of the store, but that's like that was like the one time where somebody went to jail, and like it was like a whole fucking thing,
Right.
you know. And so it's like, let's say, okay, let's say you're doing this, and let's say you put all the Walmarts in your GPS and you hit them all, and you get a PlayStation or a big screen from every Walmart. You know what I mean? You're doing good, right? You got fucking 5 big screen TVs. But what happens is you got to go back next week and you got to do it again,
Yeah.
and you got to go back and you got to do it again and do it again. And it's like you can only hit this. You can only go to the same Walmart so many times and buy, a big screen and a PlayStation
Yeah.
before people get hit.
Right.
You
Until
know?
it's like, all right, what's this
So
guy
it's like,
doing?
yeah. So it's like I knew that there was an end coming to what I was doing. Like it's just I wasn't going to be able to do it forever. So this is when I start looking into alternative means, for either scale what I'm doing or figure out something else. What's the next step in evolution of this whole
Well,
process?
a couple
You know,
questions, right, on this. Was
sure.
this intuitive, like, okay, this isn't gonna last forever? Was that before this incident with your brother or after? That was
After,
after.
yeah, when that happened, I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, because now I'm shell
Right.
shocked. You know what I mean?
It became
Now
real.
fucking something actually
Yeah.
happened, and now I'm going now. And now when I go to another store, I'm gonna be nervous
Right.
now.
Right. And I assume this was your brother's first offense. And so
Yeah,
then I guess,
first
yeah,
time, first time ever getting in trouble.
ever.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep. So I felt shitty about that because I done got him jammed
right.
up. He's been a good kid his whole life.
Right.
You
And
know.
then you're like, fuck, man. Like, and then not to mention, I'm sure, though it probably wasn't good, his sentence was probably a fraction of whatever you would have gotten considering your a record, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I said, he was a first time offender, so he got a little bit of probation, and that was it. Me, I for sure. I mean, I probably would have got probation too, but it would have been a little bit more probably
Okay.
severe.
And so then I guess at this point you're like, yeah, you're like, shit, like, I'm running out of stores. My nerves are starting to get to me because you gotta be cool,
Hmm.
right? Act like you know what you're doing kind of thing. Um, but then I guess what was the idea for the pivot after that?
I remember something I had either read somewhere or somebody had once told me, and I don't remember how I remembered this or how I even applied this to my situation, but it was during the gold rush. The guys mining the gold that were actually going down in the mines, they were getting the gold, they were turning it for money. Those weren't really the guys making money during the gold rush. It was the guy selling the pickaxes.
Right.
The guy selling the pickaxes, the guy selling the shovels, the guy selling the vendors, the food vendors, those were the people making all the money during the gold rush. Those were the people that made out like bandits. And so I was like, well, fuck. There's got to be a market in selling the actual cards because I was paying X amount of dollars for these cards and I was going out and using them. And I was like, well, fuck, that kind of removes me. You know what I mean? That kind of removes me from actually having to physically go and put my face on cameras,
Right.
and commit
Right.
felonies. I can go back to my comfortable anonymity behind the computer screen, and as long as I cover all my bases, I should be okay.
Should be.
And so I started looking into that. I started looking into becoming a
And
vendor.
so did that require a
You
whole
know,
bunch of different research that played into that as well?
yeah, yeah, because you got to figure it out. You got to okay, how are these cards made? Let's start there. How are they making
Right.
them? You know, So I just started there. I figured out the equipment, and
And then would you
once I figured out all the equipment I needed, once I figured that out, I figured out how to finance that and get that equipment, and then set it up and trial and
and
error.
just got to a place where you were just cranking out cards for other people and just selling cards then?
Yeah, so something happened. And now once again, this is just how my life works, but something had happened, and there was like five major vendors of plastic on these forums. and 3 of the 5 had just either went to prison or got caught or just stopped making them.
Right.
Period. So there was 2 guys left that were making plastic on all the forums.
Okay.
Okay, and so I ordered cards from them. I ordered cards from both of them. You know, and I was like, okay, how are these cards being made? And I figured out exactly the equipment I needed to get to make the cards. So then I was like, okay, let me try and become a vendor. So then once I had a little bit of trial and error and I figured out how to make a card, and they weren't really good in the beginning, I became a vendor and I started selling cards. And for whatever reason, the other 2 guys that were like the main vendors on these forums, they just weren't reliable.
Yeah.
They weren't reliable. You would order cards from them, and then sometimes they wouldn't show up for a month if you got them at
Right.
all. You know, they were overpriced. The quality of the cards weren't that good. I could tell once I started printing cards and I started playing with the equipment, I can tell they were using cheap printers,
Mm.
you know, because I had a really nice printer. I had a $5,000
Okay.
printer,
Yeah, if you're gonna
you
do it,
know,
you're gonna do it
and
right.
yeah, oh no, I played like I lost my ID and I went to the DMV to see what the model number on the printer was that they were
Damn.
using to print the
That's
cards.
that's some next level research into it.
Yeah. So once I got that model number, I went online and I found that model printer was readily available to the public.
Damn. That's crazy.
Like you could just go and buy it. Yeah, you could just go and buy it.
That's wild.
So I bought the same printer that DMV was using to print driver's licenses and shit. So
So
I
were you
bought that
creating
printer.
driver's license as well?
I
Because the
was,
name's got to
yeah.
match the card.
Yeah, I was making driver's licenses and debit credit
Okay.
cards. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Jeez, man, that's pretty
Yep.
wild. So that was essentially your scam then was, to sell driver's licenses and then also to sell credit cards.
Yeah, and I just sold the blank cards. Like I didn't put numbers on them. I didn't have anything to do with that part of the process.
Oh.
There was a different vendor if you wanted, you know what I
So
mean? Like
you
for
essentially
that.
were just doing like business to business sales. You were a business illegal business at that, sure, but a business that was creating
Right.
the physical card and then you would sell it to a different vendor that at
In
wholesale
wholesale.
prices that would then print on whether it's the strips or whatever it is, they would just print on the numbers
Yep.
or whatever have you.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. And so then were you doing the same
Correct.
thing with like driver's licenses or did you create those all on your own?
So I would do the IDs, but I didn't really do them too much, and I would charge like $350 for one. So my basic package was $1,000 minimum order, and for $1,000 you would get 100 Visa or Mastercard blanks, whatever you can specify, and then I wouldn't give you like 100 IDs, but I would work with you on the driver's licenses. I'd give you one per every 10 or something like that, or one per every 5 or something
Okay.
like that. Yeah. So it was $1,000 minimum order with me.
Okay.
Period. I didn't nickel and dime. I didn't do piecework. I didn't sell one or
Right.
two.
Keep it in bulk. It saves
Yeah.
a hassle on so many different things. And then at this point in
So
the
yeah.
operation, two questions is number one, how long was this
Mhm.
after like your initial research into it? Did you start like hitting your stride with it? And what did the scale of like income look
This
like?
all of this happened within the span of one
Okay.
year. From starting the research on carding through the virtual carding into the store carding into making credit cards all happened within the span of pretty much one year. So by the end of that year, I had been like, okay, I had went through everything and then finally got to the point to where I was like starting to print
Okay.
cards,
Okay. Yeah,
you
and which
know?
is damn man. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And then were you I guess you were seeing, money coming in that was worth going through this expense, worth going to this like with this trouble, this rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, man, the money because there were so many vendors online selling cards, I didn't really make that much money. I would do maybe like 1 or 2 orders a month, then 3 orders a month. Um, and then I remember I woke up one morning and I had 20
Damn.
orders already paid for.
Really?
Already paid for.
Was it from one
Yep.
specific person or 20 different people?
No, it was 20 different people. Like I don't know what happened. I don't know, like I had been paying for banner ads on all of these forums with my name. I was US Plastico was my name. And I was paying for banner ads and like I said, I woke up one morning, I had 20 fucking orders. That's $20,000
That's
right there.
crazy.
I had never seen that much money before at one
Jeez.
time, ever.
What did you feel whenever that
Yep.
happened? Were you excited? Were you nervous?
I was nervous because I was like, man, this could be the feds or
Right.
something, you know. But after I processed those orders and I got those orders out and I collected all the money, um, you know, the orders just kept coming in after
Uh,
that,
yeah, like
like
the same,
crazy.
like 20 orders every month kind of thing.
It started at like 20 and then went to 25, went to 30, and then I remember at like what I deemed to be the very pinnacle of my success. I was doing 100 orders a
Wow.
month on average. Now, not every month. Some were 50, 60, 80, but I think there was like a 2 or 3 month span one year where I did 100 orders every single month.
And you were saying that there was a
Sometimes
thousand
over.
dollars per order. You weren't doing anything less than that either.
That's $100,000.
Minimum.
I was making a little over $100,000
That's
a month.
insane.
Yep,
No,
yep.
that's
It
which
was
is an
insane.
insane amount of money for anybody to be touching or even looking at. What were you
Yeah,
doing with this money? Was it
man. I really regret not spending any of it because I didn't. I was nervous to spend a lot of it. I wasn't dumb. I wasn't gonna go out and buy a Lamborghini or go and buy a
right?
Ferrari, and then go buy a $500,000 in jewelry and go out to the club every weekend. I wasn't gonna be that
Right,
guy.
right.
You know what I mean? Like I had seen too many of those fucking guys go to prison for that dumb shit. So I wasn't gonna be that guy. You know. So and a lot of the money, all the money I had set up bank accounts using false identities.
Okay.
You know, so I had corporate accounts set up. So I had never really in my entire life, I've never had more than $80,000 in cash on me at one point
Which
in
is still a
time.
good amount, but
You know. Yeah, I mean, I had it spread out through like multiple bank accounts. I had a little over between 3.5 and 3.8 million dollars.
geez.
Um, but in cash, I only had about 80,000 at one
Okay.
time.
Yeah, but then just it was
Yeah,
spread out, across different channels, different avenues, and and
yeah,
and so then
yeah. I had debit cards, and I could wire money here and go grab a debit card and pull it out, or write a cashier's check, or however I needed to move funds around. There's 100 different avenues to
right,
do
right,
so.
different institutions, different ways to
Yeah,
not leave your
yeah,
trace on it, kind of thing. And so the question I keep asking you, and I'm still curious, was there any warning flags at this point, like, hey man, like this isn't the right path, or you're starting to approach a certain amount of money that like the U.S. government isn't going to turn a blind eye to? Like, was there any sort of
yeah.
warning signs there?
Um, Man, they're just. I was so cocky, man. There really was no paranoia. Because I was doing this by myself.
Okay,
So nobody knew what I was doing. Then wasn't involving anybody. I didn't have a team of people helping me, nothing. I was doing this all alone, you know. And in my mind, there was no way I could ever get caught,
right.
you know. And I felt as long as I was smart with the money and I didn't like tip off the IRS or make too much big crazy giant purchases, I felt like I was smart enough to be able to shuffle all this money around and hide it to where I just wanted to create a life for myself to where I always had access to everything that I need. And I never had to worry about, my bills being paid or food or anything like that. I didn't give a shit about buying jewelry and buying cars and mansions and I didn't give a
You
fuck
were
about
cool with
any of
just the
that.
bare minimums.
I just yeah, because I've been living in scarcity my
Right.
whole life. You know what I mean? I've been living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck for as long as I can remember. So for me, having that kind of financial stability for the foreseeable future, you
You were
know,
good.
fuck, I could wake up in the morning and just lay in bed all day and I didn't have to do
Yeah.
shit. Because there was no, because when you're poor, you wake up in the morning unless you're just a scumbag. There's this like sense of urgency. Like I have to fucking get up and start doing things and making, you know what I mean? I have to start making shit happen and whatever I got going on to pay my bills and all this shit. But once you have that much money just sitting there, it's like all of that
You're
goes
just
away.
chilling. I mean, they
You know, all of that goes away. All of the worry, all of the fear, all of that. Just that sickness inside of you of like I could be fucking homeless next month. Like that just
that's no
all goes
longer
away.
a
You
thing,
know.
right? I mean, you have 3.5 million just stashed away, chilling. You're like, we're good. And
Yeah.
so, did you have like a
Yeah.
plan to get out, or was there any thought of, well, once I hit 5 million or 10 million, then I'm gonna call it quits?
It was
It was
five
five
million.
million.
It was 5 million. Once I hit $5 million, I was going to invest. I was going to start maybe a couple small businesses and then maybe like a tattoo shop, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the goal.
your
That
goal
was
was
the
five,
goal. That was the end goal.
and so you got the
Yeah,
you got
the
the
goal was
3.5,
five.
and then when did it all turn around, come crashing down?
Uh, in 2009,
2009.
um, yeah, I moved from Miami to, well, I didn't, I had a place in Miami, but I had met a girl and I was dating her and we had a baby together. And in 2009, I decided to move to a small town in South Carolina where she was
Okay.
from. And so we went up there, and I still have a place in Miami, and so, but we went up there and we bought a townhome, and we started, and I was like, well, fuck, I can just print cards up here, and nobody will ever know anything. Yeah, I can do this from wherever I'm at, it doesn't
Okay.
matter. So I started printing cards in South Carolina and mailing them out, and there was two UPS stores in the, like the surrounding area that I was in South
Okay.
Carolina, as opposed to South Florida, where there's you put them in your GPS and you wouldn't have to hit a different one for months,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know.
you could every single day. You're saying like you could. There's probably 40 or 50 within a 5 mile, 10 mile radius in Florida.
Exactly.
Um,
And I walk in and my package is already sealed and it's already got a UPS label on it. All you do is you give them $5, they scan it in, they put it in their
right, and
outgoing.
so they're not going to
That's
track
it.
any sort of consistency. This guy comes in, he gives this. It's like, you know, you,
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody looks like me in Miami. Everybody's
uh, they
tattooed,
don't
you
care. They
know.
probably
I mean,
know.
I
I
didn't
mean, you
have,
know, you're coming just right out of that cocaine era. They're like, you know, probably half the guys, you probably were I mean, you know, there was probably 10 other guys that were doing the same thing in that area. And they're just like, all right, whatever. Like, we're not going to try to raise flags
yeah,
here. But then you go to South Carolina
exactly.
where there's two stores, and what happened there? Did you just not think it was a big deal, or like what was the mindset with that?
No, I didn't, I told one of the guys at the store I had that I owned I refurbished secondhand electronics and I sold them on the internet. So I buy in bulk off eBay and I, replace them and fix them and I got my own little company and I built a website. It was a
Okay.
functioning website you could go to and had a phone. I had a virtual
Okay.
office that you could call and they would take phone calls and they, accept mail and everything. And so on all in all, it was a legitimate company. And yeah, so I've been doing it for months and months, and then apparently the old man at the UPS store, which I didn't know this at the time, he was the owner.
Mm, okay.
It's a franchise. He opened one of my packages
Oh,
that I was sending out and found I had like 500 Visa cards was going out blank.
jeez.
He contacted the Postmaster General. The Postmaster General uh, contacted the Secret Service,
Jeez.
and they set up a sting on
Well,
me.
real quick, I mean, is that well, I guess if he opens that package, is that not fraudulent? Like, I mean,
Yes,
so did he
yeah, it
get any
is.
repercussions for something like that?
No, but I essentially got like 14 or 13 years knocked off my sentence
Well, I mean,
in the very
I
end.
mean, I guess there's the
Yeah,
asterisk there, right? But
yeah,
damn. So
yeah.
then I guess they set a sting operation where what you just brought this packet. How would you set up a sting? Because they wouldn't be allowed to open your
Um,
mail either, would they?
they they sent me an email telling me I had a package there to pick
Okay.
up. So, and coincidentally, I did. And so when I went in to get the package, I signed for it, and I was going to walk out the door, and they came in and blocked the door on me
Okay.
and said, what name was I? Ryan Pearson was the name I was using back
Uh
then. They were like Ryan Pearson. I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, we need to talk to you about what you've been sending out of here. And I tried to play stupid for a minute. I'm like, fuck. And they're like, well, let's just go on back and talk. Just come back and talk to us. I'm like, all right. So we go on back, and he pulls out the box and he puts the cards on the table. And at this point, I'm like, well, I know a couple of things at this point. A, they don't know who I am,
right.
really, because if they did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be in
Right.
handcuffs. You know what I mean? So I'm playing with them a little bit now. I'm trying to figure out how much do they know without letting them know that I
right.
know that they don't know
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know how to play mind games. I'm not scared. I've
Right.
been dealing with law
You
enforcement my
probably thought it was
entire
fun.
life. Like most people would be scared. They'd be like, just tell on
Right.
themselves, But I'm a veteran at this point, like so I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. Let me play with him a little bit. And he's like, well, if you just play ball with us, you're not going to jail. I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not going to jail. So it's like, yeah, all right, I've been printing credit cards. He said, how long have you been doing it for? I said, just a few months. He says, well, where have you been doing it at? I was like, well, I got at my condo, I had a walk-in closet where all my equipment was set up. And he was like, okay, well, they got on the phone with their boss and they contacted somebody at the headquarters, and then they contacted them back. So what happened is they fingerprinted me and they booked me in the back of the UPS store. Took all my
Wow.
prints, took pictures of me, got my driver's license, social security number, all that shit. They had a bunch of paperwork faxed in saying that they could search and seize anything that was used for fraud in my place. They put me in the back of their car, drove me to my condo, came in, searched and seized all of my equipment, my safe, all my printing equipment, anything with removable storage on it, they took. Any laptop, any hard drive, any SD card, any, back then we didn't have cell phones with cameras on them back then. So we had digital
Okay.
cameras. Any digital cameras, they took it all.
Wow.
And they gave me a card and they gave me a date. And they're like, you need to be at this address on this date to give a statement. And he's like, you're going to have a court date. He's like, but we're not going to take you to jail right now. And he's like, if you don't show up at this address on this date, you're going to have a warrant out for your arrest. I was like, all
Was
right.
there any inkling? And the first thing I'm thinking of is like when they were talking to you that you needed to have like a lawyer present or anything. Like whenever they were like, "Oh, well, you're not going to go to jail if you tell us." Did that never kind of come in, or what was thought
Um,
there?
I know I just knew what to say. I knew what not to say, and I knew at this point they were. I see. I what they thought, and I knew this at this time. They thought that I was just a small cog in a very much larger
Right.
wheel. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So they're like, okay, we got the little guy. Let's try and get the big
Right.
fish. And I knew that, and I used that to my advantage.
Okay. And so then,
You know, to stay out of jail.
I
Yeah.
guess so whenever they took all of your stuff and well, maybe I'm jumping ahead of the story, but maybe it's a good intro to it.
Mhm.
Did they figure out, the size of your operation as it went along, or maybe just what happened when you showed up at the courtroom?
When I showed up, I had to go to the Secret Service headquarters in Columbia,
Oh,
South
wow.
Carolina. And I walked into this room, and there was this long table, and there was like maybe 13 people sitting around this table, all older gentlemen. That I found out later they had flown in from DC, from Los Angeles, from Vegas. All the heads of all of the cyber crime units from all over the country were at that table when I
Wow.
walked in. And spread out on the table, they had screenshots of everything I had been doing online over the past 2.5 years. Every fucking forum I was on, they had screenshots of my posts. They had screenshots of conversations that I had had on ICQ chats
Oh my
with
gosh.
federal agents. They had screenshots of cards that they had ordered from me, like 12, 13 months in the past. All this shit. Yeah,
Jeez.
and they never knew who I was or where I was at.
Yeah.
So they knew who I was for like 2 or 3 years, but they just never could
Wow.
catch
So
me.
you were being tracked, I guess, for years, it sounds like. And then just
Yeah,
this little slip up, they were just like, okay, whatever. But then once you had to show up, I guess that's when they put the pieces together.
yeah, I got caught by accident. Being like I said, there was just no way for them to ever. They didn't know who I was or what I was doing or where I
Wow.
was at. I mean, they knew I was in South Florida, but they didn't know. They had no idea. And fraud is so fucking huge in South Florida. Everybody's committing
Right.
fraud, in one form or another. Um,
Then we'll try to find the
so
big fish.
but yeah, it wasn't until I went. It was just through a random sequence of unfortunate fucking events that led to me actually getting
That
caught.
is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
I mean, and I guess at this point, would you have had a lawyer with you, and what was that whole process like? Like,
Going through
yeah,
court
like
and everything.
were they just kind of? I mean, these are people that
After that meeting, after that meeting, I didn't hear anything for
really.
years. 3, 4 years went by and nothing. No court dates.
Well,
No
okay, so
shit.
what happened at this meeting then? Was it just like they just wanted to know how you did it, or they
They
just
just
said we know?
Yeah. They for like 3.5 hours they asked me
Okay,
questions, and I stuck to my guns from the very beginning. I was like, listen, I didn't really make that much money doing this. I'd only been doing it for X amount of time. Since from the very first time I figured out that they had been watching me, and I was just like, I just gave a statement. and they asked me, "Do you know this person? Do you know how to code? Do you speak Russian? All this shit." And I was like, listen, I don't do there. Who's helping you? That's the question. They kept asking me, like, who's helping you? Who's supplying you? Who taught you? I'm like, listen, I am self-taught. I'm an autodidact. I have been my whole
What is that?
life with everything.
Autodidact?
Even yeah, I learned, you know, I'm
Oh, okay.
self-taught
Okay.
everything.
Like just
Yeah, that's just a
okay.
terminology for it. It's called
Okay.
autodidact. Somebody
Never heard
who's
that before,
self-taught.
but okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's what I am. And I've always been self-taught. And I told them, I was like, listen, it's all just been through trial and error. I learned how to do all this on my own, and it is what it is. And they couldn't believe me.
Really?
They just did not believe me. No, they didn't believe me. Um, but they let me go, and I walked right out the door, and
That's wild.
that was it. So for like 6 or 8 months, dude, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I thought for sure all my phones were tapped. I thought I was being followed.
Sure, sure. I
Paranoia.
mean, they just let you out. You're like,
Um,
you were caught doing something wrong, right? Like you admitted to illegal
yeah,
activity of some sort, no matter how small the time frame it
yeah,
might have been comparatively. It's like,
right.
shit, like, and it probably very valid paranoia. I'm sure that they were at some level. Was there, again, I don't know why I keep going back to it, but was there any sort of consulting with any sort of like lawyer or legal representative to figure out what you should do next?
I did. I called a lawyer, and I had got a good lawyer. I put a retainer down, and you know, uh, they told me that there's nothing we can really do until there's an indictment because it's going to be a federal case. And so they have to go in front of, I don't remember how the process, but they have to go get a federal indictment, and then that has to come down, and then they have to issue that, and then I'm gonna have to go to court. And she broke down the whole process for me, and I'm like, okay. She's like, so when you get contact and you get that initial paperwork with your discovery and all that shit from the United States Bureau of Prisons or whoever is gonna prosecute me, she's like, then we can move
Okay.
forward.
And so I mean, at least
You know?
that's, I guess a starting point of figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then you said it was like 2 to 3 years where there was nothing, discussed. Were you like, what were you doing at this point? Were you still like using the money that you had put
I
away,
ge-
or
I ge- I geared up for another
you
run.
did? You're ready to start printing cars again?
Yeah, I fucking after about a year, I didn't know what to do, and all my money because I had a storage unit they didn't know about that I didn't tell them about. I had money and a few things. Um, my girlfriend that I was with, my fiance, left me when all this
Okay.
happened. She had my son, and she was like, pretty much F you.
Did she know that this was happening
So
as it
I
was
went back.
happening, or? Okay.
Of course, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
Um, so she left me, and so I went back to Miami, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I still knew a few contacts, so I contacted one of my guys that I knew placed big orders with me every month, and I was like, listen, I'm sorry for falling off the map. You know what I mean? Like, can you send me like 20 grand? I need to fucking buy more equipment, and so he did. He sent me $20,000, and I bought a bunch of equipment, and
Jeez.
yeah, I just geared up for another run. I ended up making like another $1.5 million or some
Really?
shit like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Over the next like two and a
Oh,
half
that's
years.
insane, man. And so then would
Yeah.
your have total been come up to that 5 million mark at this point then?
Yeah, well, see, when they came to my house, they took all my laptops, they took all my hard drives, they took everything. So all of my access to my bank accounts, everything was
Okay.
gone. Uh, I had a safe. It had all my IDs, my passports, my driver's licenses in there,
So they knew all
everything.
the shell names that you had going on at this point?
And see, here's the thing, is they had all of this shit and they didn't look into any of it.
Really?
They didn't listen. They could have sent all my shit up to DC and some like what do they call them?
Forensic analyst?
Um, forensic analysts could have went through everything. They didn't. Nothing ever came back. Nothing.
Really?
They never looked into anything. Yeah, when I went to court and I got charged, they had to throw so much shit out that I only got stuck with aggravated identity theft, which carried a mandatory 24 months.
Really? That's it?
That was it. That was it.
What? Wait, what?
They got rid of they got yeah. Listen, they had to get rid of the possession of a fraudulent transaction device, the manufacturing of a fraudulent transaction device, possession of counterfeiting equipment, mail fraud, uh, all that gone. I took a plea bargain. When they came with that plea bargain, it said 24 months mandatory. I was like, where do I sign? Let's go.
Jeez.
because I had already been down like 13
Right.
months waiting to get
Right.
sentenced. So I had like another 9 or 10 months to go, and I was going to be scot free. Like,
Oh,
oh,
so it
love it.
was only the oh, so it was since they took your stuff that was your plea bargain was in that range? Is that what you're saying?
When they finally picked me up, I got picked up. They put a warrant out for my arrest without me even knowing
Oh.
it, and I didn't get picked up till like 2012
Oh.
or
Okay.
something like that.
What,
Yeah, like
but how
2012.
do they place a warrant out for you and not even tell you? That's
I don't
wild.
know. I mean, a couple of years went by. I had moved, so I guess they didn't have like an address
Okay.
or even a phone number for me.
Jeez.
And I had a warrant out for my arrest this whole time. I didn't even know it, and I was just driving one day and I
Oh,
got pulled
really?
over.
The guy was just like,
Yep, and they picked me up. Yep, and they're like, okay, you have a felony federal warrant out for your arrest out of the Southern District of South Carolina. And I was in Florida and I went to jail and I had to get extradited all the way down to South Carolina and go through all that shit. And
jeez, man,
yeah,
that's wild.
and when I finally got sentenced, I only got
That
24
is so
months.
wild.
Yeah, their initial plea was 115 months.
Really? And then, but then,
Yeah, that was
why'd
the
everything get
initial
thrown out?
because my lawyer went and looked through my discovery packet
What's a
and
discovery
figured out
packet?
that so when you go in front of a federal judge, they give they have to by law they have to give you all of the evidence that they
Okay.
have against you so that you can look at it and understand why you're
Okay.
being charged. It's called a discovery packet. And when me and my lawyer were going over my discovery packet, she was going through the initial investigation that was done that how they were alerted to who I actually was. And we figured it out that that old man wasn't supposed to open my mail
Uh,
because he didn't pay for that. I didn't put the label on at his UPS store and seal it. I paid for the label using my own shipping
okay.
program, Pitney Bowes shipping program, and I put the label on. I sealed my own mail, and the postage was already paid for through the United States Postal Service,
Oh,
which deemed my mail a federal piece of mail. Now, the only person that has the authority to open federally sealed mail is the Postmaster General or the Secret Service
okay.
themselves,
Not
not
him.
him. So he was supposed to contact the Postmaster General. The Postmaster General was supposed to come down and open my package. If he was suspecting that I was something illegal was going on,
He
then
should have
there was
called.
a certain protocol that he was supposed to follow, and he didn't, which he knew because he owned the UPS store, so he was aware of the protocol because
That's
you know what I
wild,
mean.
man.
So all that,
Talk about
I had a good
another
lawyer. I had a
and talk
good
about
fucking
another
lawyer.
silver lining in your whole story of things where it's like such a small technicality saved you. What was that? Almost 90 months, which is insane.
Yep,
Fuck,
yep,
man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It was pretty
And
crazy.
so then,
Yeah.
well, from this second operation that you were doing, were you able to, relinquish any of that money after the fact? Because I guess they wouldn't have been aware of that.
No, right. So I had remarried within these 2 or 3 year span, and I was down in Miami, and my wife was responsible for everything after I went to
Okay.
prison, which was a nightmare because she was just a nightmare to deal with. She was young. She was like in her early 20s, had just came over here from Cuba, um, completely irresponsible, didn't know how to manage money, and yeah, she ripped through everything
Jeez.
that I had saved.
Damn.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah. And then when I get out of prison, she has a guy living with her and she's pregnant and it was just a
Jeez.
nightmare.
Just adding
Yeah.
fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So at this point, then, I guess you did your time. You're coming back out of jail. Was there another sort of reawakening type period where you're like, damn, it happened again. I need to get my like ducks back in a line?
I started fucking around again and went
Did
back.
you really? You couldn't
Yeah.
stay away.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, listen, man. Listen, okay, I got out and they put me 6 months halfway house. Now, when I get out of prison, I have nothing.
Right.
My wife, she doesn't know what happened to any of my clothes, none of my stuff. I have no money. I have nothing. Nothing. So I get put into a halfway house with nothing. They give me a job making 8.50 an hour, working at a frozen food warehouse, a kosher frozen food warehouse, working 6 at night till 6 in the morning.
Damn.
I got 6 months to save money to get an apartment
Right.
when I get out, or I'm
Right.
fucked. So I worked that 6 months, busted my ass in a warehouse, um, making dog shit, riding the train to work, catching the bus to work every day. I finally got a halfway house. I move into this little, efficiency apartment in Miami, which was $850 a month. and everything was in one room. My bed, my refrigerator, my stove, my bathroom, everything was in one little tiny room. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was walking a mile and a half to downtown Miami to catch the first train an hour north, to catch a bus another hour to go work in a warehouse for $11 an hour. And then I'd have to run that whole route all the way back home. So I wasn't getting home till like
Wild.
midnight. And I'd get like 5 hours of sleep and I'd have to do it all over again. Uh, I just lost it. I was like, there's no fucking. Listen, I had just been flying private. I was driving brand new cars. You know what I mean? I had access to unlimited amounts of funds, and now I'm all the way back at the bottom,
Gosh.
like a
Yeah. What a
cockroach.
spiral back.
I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it, and I had met a girl in the halfway house who her brother kind of knew what I used to do, and me and him got to talking, and we and him went into business, and then that went south real quick, and I ended up getting caught. Um, so this is a whole nother fucking crazy story, man. Um, so he sent some shit to my house that shouldn't have been sent to my house. It had to go through customs and it got stopped at customs. It was little holograms for the credit cards, little Visa and MasterCard holograms. They got caught in customs. They were coming to my house. So two DSL guys showed up at my door one day, clearly who were not DSL
Yeah.
guys. They had slick back hair, a couple of young guys. They were cops.
Yeah.
They were from the Miami Financial Crimes Division
Oh,
unit in
wow.
Miami. And so they got the package from customs and they went to go deliver it at my house. And I tried to play stupid with them. And I'm like, I don't know who's that's here for. Because I didn't have nothing in my house. I didn't have nothing. So I just played stupid. I'm like, that's not my package. I don't know. I just moved in here. It's not mine. Right when they were there, FedEx shows up with a giant box.
Okay.
And inside that box is an embossing
Oh.
machine, like a $2,500 embossing machine, right?
Okay.
They go and talk to the FedEx guy. The FedEx guy's like, listen, I've delivered multiple packages here, and he
Oh.
signed for them. The same name that was on the box from FedEx was on the package that they were
Yeah.
delivering.
Oh.
They connected everything right there. I was effed. Right there, they knew. Yeah, worst fucking luck of my life.
Oh man, dude, that is wild. But they couldn't open the FedEx packages,
I'm
right?
on probation. I just got out of the halfway house. The fucking FedEx guy shows up. He's got the package, the embosser. They got the holograms. The whole thing is just a nightmare, dude. I'm going back to prison. They're like, well, we want the lab. They kept saying, we want the lab. We want the lab. And in my mind at this point, dude, I'm like, you know what, man? I told this fucking guy not to send anything to my house. He sent some shit to my house, and here I am. I'm going back to prison.
Do you know why he sent? Do you know why he sent it to your house?
I don't know why. Maybe because he didn't want to send it to like a random address and it get caught.
But how long were you doing this for?
I guess he was like, oh, it's not going to be a big deal or whatever.
But how long were you doing this for, such that it like because if you were running this operation for a little bit, right, when you're doing the holograms and the ID, why was there this one instance where you decided to send it to your house?
No, we hadn't even gotten set up yet.
Oh.
We were still in the process of fucking
getting it,
you know what I mean,
okay.
buying all
getting
the
it
shit.
all started. I guess that explains why the printer was coming to your place.
The embosser, yeah. So he was sending all this shit to my house when I told him not to send nothing to my house. I was like, dude, don't send anything to my house. Right as they're there, he calls. and I was like, so they were like, answer it. I'm like, fuck. I didn't want to answer the phone. They made me answer the phone. I put it on speaker, and here he is asking if the holograms got there, if the fucking machine is there, can I bring it to him? What's going on? I'm like, no, I don't think I can bring you any of that stuff today. And they're standing there shaking their head, yeah. I'm like, fuck, man. So, dude, they made me. I mean, I could have said no and went to jail. You know what I mean? But dude, they made me go and meet this dude. They made me put the shit in my car and go and meet this guy. And then I gave all the shit to him, and he drove to his house, and they followed him to his house and raided him.
Fuck.
With all he had all the printers, the embosser, he had everything at his house. Yeah. So then they came back to me where they were holding me, and they're like, they gave back my phone. They're like, okay, you can go.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like, but you're on probation, so we have to report this to your probation officer by law.
What happened with that?
I knew I had enough time to get home and pack my fucking bags and get to the airport before my probation officer was notified and showed up.
Really? So you just booked it? You got out of there?
Oh, I booked it. Fuck yeah, I was out of there. I went home. I went home. I packed my shit. I got in my car. I drove to Fort Lauderdale International Airport. I left my car at the airport. It's probably still sitting there to this day in long-term parking. like 7 years. I just left it there. I got on an airplane. I took off, went to Michigan. Um, I'm in Michigan for like the whole summer, and then my wife calls me from Nebraska and was like, I need you to come out here and help me with Aiden, which is our son at that time. I was like, all right, you know, fuck it. And so I got to Nebraska, and I get a whole another fucking wild shit happens while I'm out there, and I get picked up by the police. And I had a warrant out for my arrest, obviously, because I absconded on probation. I just stopped reporting and took off
Right.
from Florida on
Right.
federal probation.
But
And
how were you able to get
I
on a
get,
plane if you were on probation and a federal probation in Florida? They don't care.
oh yeah, they can't stop you. There's no like list or like,
Oh, really?
unless I'm on like a no-fly
Okay.
list,
But I guess okay,
which I
probation doesn't like
wasn't.
include like I feel like usually maybe this is just my conception of it, but probation in my mind is usually like you need to stay in this area or within the city.
Oh yeah, you better not leave.
Okay. Gotcha. It's
There's
not
no
like
there's no
okay.
system.
Yeah.
No,
Gotcha.
no. Yeah, they don't know if I'm getting on an airplane. They don't know where I'm at. Um, so yeah, man, I end up out in Nebraska. I end up getting wrapped up in a whole bunch of BS out there, which was had nothing to do with me at all. I just was guilty by association. So the police, came over and asked me some questions, asked me what my name was, and they
Yeah.
ran me and seen that I had a federal warrant out for my arrest. So then I ended up getting extradited all the way back to South Carolina. That process took like 6 months. I was in Oklahoma, I was in Atlanta, I was in, out in every little podunk county jail between Nebraska
And
and
why is
South
that? Did they
Carolina.
just have to transport
I
you
get
to
back in,
move you jail to jail?
yeah, you go one place, you might sit there for a week until the next transport comes, and then they put you on an airplane, like a
Okay.
Con Air, and they fly you to like a main processing place in Oklahoma, and you sit there for like 3, 4 weeks, and then they take you to Atlanta, the USP in Atlanta, and you sit there for like a month, and then so it's like a
Gosh.
whole fucking
Damn.
worst fucking
Yeah, that's
experience of my
crazy.
life, worst
That's
experience of my
crazy.
life. Um, yeah, so I finally get back in front of the judge and dig this, man. These motherfuckers didn't even tell my probation officer shit.
Really?
They didn't tell her anything. I was getting violated for absconding. Because the report that my probation officer put in is that I just stopped reporting.
Really?
Yep.
So the whole thing with like the UPS guys, that whole thing never even was told to your probation officer.
Nope. Never even came back to
Fuck,
me.
man.
Yep. But dig this. I had 3 years of paper. The judge killed my paper and kicked me out the door as a free
Really?
man.
What did you mean 3 years of
Yep.
paper?
I had 3 years of federal
Oh,
supervised
and he just got
probation.
rid of it.
They
Why
just
was
canceled
that?
it. My judge told me that I'm not supervisable.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I guess because they had I took it off a few times at this point on them, and they had to extradite me from Florida initially from Florida to South Carolina for my initial
Yeah.
sentencing, and then I took off again, and they had to extradite me, and they're like, it's just costing us too much money to extradite you all around the country every time you take off on probation. And listen, I've never been a violent offender. I have no drug charges ever in my life. So, I'm not a danger to society per se.
Right.
It was just
Right.
fraud, you know, and they figured that, and I didn't owe any restitution,
Okay. I don't know what
you
restitution
know.
is.
So say I commit a crime and I have to pay like $10,000 restitution to whoever I defrauded or
Gotcha.
whatever I owe money to or whatever. But no, I had no restitution to
Interesting.
pay. So if I don't owe you guys any money, then it's costing you money to supervise me.
Right. That's fascinating that they were just like, oh, like it's just costing us money, so we're just gonna like let him go. It's interesting that
That's
was like
it.
the decision that was made as opposed to in my mind, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna put you in jail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even that costs more money than supervising
I
me
see. That's interesting.
because now they got to house and feed me and transport
Right.
me.
Right.
So and I'm low risk. Like I'm not like a physical danger to
Right. You've never
anybody.
hurt anyone, never hurt
So
yourself. Damn, I mean,
no,
that
yeah.
seems like it's saving you from that brink throughout the story in certain ways.
Yeah. And that was
Okay.
2016. So I've been a free man
Have
ever
you
since. Yeah.
gone back to any nefarious activity since then? All good?
Fuck
We're
no.
done with
Heck
it.
no, man. Yeah.
What was the turning point?
Yeah. Well, see, um, I wrote a book while I was in
Okay.
federal prison.
What year would this have been?
I met a man by the name of Matthew Cox, and I wrote a book about my life and pretty much this whole story, starting from my childhood all the way up until my eventual incarceration. Um, and I published it when I got out. It's on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. It's called
We'll drop
Bent.
a link below if
It's
anyone wants to
basically
buy it.
my yeah, it's basically my memoir. My personal memoir. And that I didn't really do much with it after about a year after I got out. Um, and then I actually ended up getting a job so I'll finish the story. So I go out to South Carolina. I go out to I'm sorry, Nebraska. And after I'm released from after they kicked me out and they canceled my probation and shit, I went back out to
Okay.
Nebraska to be with
Okay.
my wife. Found out that she was doing a whole lot of just dirty stuff behind my back, and the relationship just completely fell apart. And I decided at that point not to go back to Florida,
Okay. You were done with
you know,
Florida.
because I knew if I went back to Florida, I was going to start doing fraud again.
Just that
Period.
environment. Was it like the environment just
And
cultivated that out of you? Brought it out?
yeah, yeah, people,
You're right.
places, and things. Everybody who I hung out with, associated with, they're all fraudsters. Just the lifestyle in Miami, it's the flashy, look at me, look at me. Everybody's a peacock with
Hmm.
their feathers out. You know,
There's no
um,
getting away from it.
so I knew, yeah, I knew that I couldn't go back to that. At this point, I knew that I had a chance to actually do something with my life
That's
at this
awesome.
point.
I mean, that's a great
Yeah,
realization. What what kind of sparked that
yeah.
in your mentality?
Just
Just
getting
getting
older, I
older.
guess. Yeah, just getting older. Now at this point, I'm in my 30s. I got released from halfway house on my 30th birthday.
Okay.
So I'm just getting older, and I'm just like, I just like I said, I've always been kind of I wouldn't say that I'm highly intelligent. I don't think that I'm, like Albert Einstein. I don't really feel like I have a giant IQ or anything, but I've always been just smart enough to see things right at that fulcrum point.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've always been smart enough to realize like I have to do something right now or else it's gonna go a dark
Right.
place.
And so then where have you kind of
You
been
know?
channeling that into something else then? And now?
Oh yeah, so I ended up going and working at Tesla.
Oh yeah.
I ended up going from Nebraska out to Northern California. I just got in my car and just fucking drove out to
Okay.
California. Didn't know anybody out there. Didn't know shit. I started applying for jobs in Nebraska in California before I went. And I applied for Tesla. It was a logistics position. I was like not running the joint or anything, but it was just, basic logistics, which I had a little bit of experience with just throughout the years of working in warehouses,
I
odd
mean, your
jobs
whole
and shit.
resume of your business of creating frauds, there's definitely logistics involved with printing cards, getting cards out.
Yeah, exactly. I have just a real good understanding of logistics and how global fucking goods and
Would
services
that be
move around
something
the
that you would
planet
put
and
on
everything
your
like that.
resume that you had done those things? Like, because it's a valid experience for being logistics, but it's not illegal.
Maybe if I just reworded it and kind of just made it seem like
Yeah,
something else, and just, kind of
yeah,
repackaged it a little bit,
yeah.
maybe. Um, but no, but yeah, no, so like I started just applying for jobs, and I got a interview
Oh
with
wow,
Tesla,
yeah,
and that's all I needed. I packed all my shit in my car and drove out to California, and I only had an
right.
interview with
But you
Tesla.
knew, this was
You
you were
know,
gonna get it. You knew you were gonna get the job.
I
Yeah,
had a feeling, and I went out there and I interviewed, and I didn't hear nothing back for like
really.
3 weeks. Yeah, and I was like, oh, for sure, I was like, oh, I didn't get it, and then I got a call back for a second interview. So when I went back for the second interview, I fucking nailed it. I killed it. They loved me. We were in there bullshitting, joking around. I was like, okay, I got this,
That's
and they
awesome.
hired me. Yeah, so I just got hired in as just a regular warehouse worker. I was working on the docks, and then after like a year and a half, I worked my way up to a position called a logistics coordinator. Um, so now I'm not, now I'm just telling people what to do. Now I'm not actually doing the work. Now I'm kind of just like, making sure everything's, being run right. And then I hurt my back really bad. at Tesla, and when I was out, I had to go through physical
Oof.
therapy. Yeah, it was bad, man. Like I wasn't playing around trying to
Right.
get a check. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I wish that was the case, but it was some of the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my entire life. And I had to go physical therapy. I had to go chiropractor. Dude, I was going acupuncture. I was anything I could do. And when the pain finally went away and I was done with all my therapy and everything, I was just like, I can't go back to manual
Right.
labor. I can't work a regular job
Right.
anymore,
I mean, you
you know?
can't put your
And
body in that position again.
no, I can't do physical labor anymore. I can't. And that's when in my mind, I just jumped both feet into tattooing, and I just was like, I have to make this
Well,
work for me.
so
I
I'm
have to.
fascinated to get into tattooing, but right before, I'm still curious about the resume. Like, considering what you kind of just laid out as, your resume
Mhm.
on this podcast, what what did you fandangle into your resume that was able to, even just get a first interview, with Tesla? Like, what what did you say that you were doing for all those years?
Right, so I lied and I said I had worked for XPO Logistics for like 8.5 years or something like that. And I understand, like I said, I understand logistics. I understand, how even in the automotive industry, I understand how all the logistics run. So even when they tried to ask me questions, like I just knew how to answer the questions. Like I know what a bill of lading is. Like I
Okay.
understand, cycle counts. I know what cycle counting is. I know what quality control protocols are for, I know what the quality MDOT standards are, and I got all the certifications, which I didn't, but I made it look like I had all the certifications and everything like
And where
that.
did you
So,
learn this? Where'd you
listen,
learn
I
all
feel
that?
um, just random logistics jobs
Okay.
throughout the years, just going and working in warehouses when I didn't have money or something like that. I'd go and like go to like a day labor place and they would send me out to like a warehouse and I'd work in a warehouse for like 3 months unloading trucks with a forklift and and like I said, like I told you earlier on, I just retain
Right.
information. My brain is like a sponge. I soak it up and I
Just
don't
absorbs
forget
it.
things. So
And so then,
yeah, yeah,
moving on,
yeah.
and I don't know if you're only listening to this, John has a healthy amount of tattoos all over him.
Oh, I'm completely
Yeah,
covered. My entire head, my neck, my hands,
100%.
everything. I'm
Yeah,
100%
yeah. He's
saturation.
in the
Yeah.
shaved, maybe bald guys club with me, so it's everywhere, man. You're committed
Yeah.
to it.
Oh no, I can grow a
Oh
beautiful
yeah,
head of hair,
you're
believe
shaved
it or
then.
not.
Yeah,
I just choose not to because the
yeah.
tattoos are
I
way
mean, they
cooler.
look pretty intense from right
Yeah.
here. And so, then you decided that you needed to jump into the tattoo world. Um, and this is really,
That was going to be it for me. I knew that was my key to the rest of my life. I knew that I was going to be able to live the life that I wanted, tattooing, and I just knew that I had to make it
well,
my
because there's a
obsession.
market for it now. It's like it's something almost everybody has, and maybe not everybody, but the younger generations. It seems like it's something that is becoming much more prevalent, prolific,
Prolific.
a lot more prolific, prevalent. There it is. That's what I was
More
looking for.
prevalent, yeah, in today's society. You're absolutely right. And and like I said, now we have the celebrity tattoo artist.
Hmm.
And you've got all the shows on TVs, and you've got I tattoo 86-year-old
Really,
grandmothers now.
that's pretty
You know,
wild.
oh yeah, you wouldn't believe. So now it's like, so now tattooing's really taken off.
Really,
You know, and at this point I wasn't really like good, but I was good enough. Like I had been tattooing since like 2002
really.
or
Were you
something
tattooing
like that.
yourself, or where was this in
Yeah,
the
like
story? Yeah.
oh yeah, my legs were
Okay.
my learning. My legs are tattooed from my ankles all the way to my knees, and
Oh
I did it
yeah.
all myself.
Wow.
And so I had done my first tattoo in like 2002, and I had been tattooing all the way up until this. Not like I said, I wasn't like really, really good. Like you see, these guys can just do amazing. Like I wasn't at that point yet, but I was good enough to go and to really
Get
try
the
and
job
pursue a
done to
career.
make it
You
happen.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And now I'm
Hell yeah,
fucking
man.
killing it. But
Good for you.
back then,
Where you at? Where's
yeah,
your shop at?
yeah.
In
I'm here in
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. I'm just working at a
Okay.
shop out here right now in
Cool. What's
Indianapolis.
your like
Yeah,
plan with that? Does it just energize you to get up in the morning, go tattoo, and
yeah. Honestly, dude, this whole YouTube thing has really just completely changed my
right?
life. I we haven't even gotten to that part of the story yet. We're kind of
Okay.
skipping ahead a little bit.
Well, then
So
well, so then you're a
so anyway,
tattoo, and then did you start putting things on YouTube? Because I found you on YouTube through like your interviews.
right. So I moved from I was living in San Francisco and I quit working for Tesla and I moved
Okay.
to Los Angeles. And so I moved to Los Angeles to become a tattooer. Now, in this period of time between living in San Francisco and moving to Los Angeles, my book got
Okay.
published.
Sweet.
Okay. Now, my book's published and it's circulating online and it's doing pretty well for itself actually. Um, some investigative journalist who writes for People magazine was trolling the internet looking for interesting stuff, to for whatever reason to interview or write stories about. They came across my book. They read the synopsis, and then they ordered the book, read the book. Now, this investigative journalist just happens to be partners with another gentleman who owns a production company. Now, what they do is they have an independent production company together, and then they make
Okay.
documentaries, and then they sell those documentaries to Hulu, Netflix, HBO,
Gotcha.
those types of deals. So they reach out like around 2017, 2018 to me, and kind of pitch the idea to me that they want to maybe possibly film a
Okay.
documentary. You know, so that's all going on in the background now. And so I moved down to LA and I'm tattooing. I'm becoming a tattoo artist now. I keep getting these phone calls, and it's picking up steam. The ideas are getting bounced around. It's been the idea's been pitched to a few other people, and they're super excited about it. They read the book. Um, they set up a date for me to come down to Florida. It was like a year
Back to
later,
Florida.
and back to Florida. They flew me down to Florida, and they had like an Airbnb for like 5 or 6 days. It was this giant mansion. And we basically filmed what ended up being a sizzle
What's a
reel.
sizzle reel?
So it's proof of concept. So say you want to pitch an idea to like a major film
Okay.
production company. You have to have proof of concept. So instead of like filming the whole thing on your own, you film just like what essentially gets boiled down to 3 to 5 minutes of just really good
Okay.
content of a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is what we can do. This is proof of concept. Then you take the sizzle reel and then shop that around to say Netflix, Hulu, HBO. Then you get contracts, get a budget, and then film the whole fucking thing and make whatever the production's going to be,
Gotcha.
that
Makes
whole thing.
sense.
Um,
So you're in Florida.
yeah.
You're shooting
So
6 days. You're in a mansion.
we
You get the
filmed the
sizzle
sizzle
reel.
reel. Um, Shot 6 days in a mansion. It was, we did, a lot of interviews. I basically just told my whole story, just how I did now, but in way, as you can understand, way
For
more
sure.
depth and detail. And so when this goes on, I get an interest from the Concrete
Okay.
podcast. Now I go on the Concrete podcast and I tell my story, um, and it goes viral.
Interesting.
Gets like 500,000 views or something like
Okay.
that.
Hell yeah.
560,000 views or something. And then somebody talked me into starting my own YouTube
Okay.
channel. Like right when that went viral, like, listen, man, people are interested in what you got to
Right.
say. People are interested in your story. You have charisma. People they just like you. They want to see you. I had never been on camera at this point. I don't come from that generation. You know
Right.
what I mean? I'm an '80s baby. Um, I didn't even understand social media or anything like that till I got out of prison. Like it wasn't even a thing. So I'm not one of these kids that's used to being in front of the phone, in front
It's
of the
weird, man.
camera all the
It's
time.
weird when
So
you
it
start
was,
out like seeing yourself on camera.
dude, I don't like the way my voice sounds. I didn't like the way I looked. I was super self-conscious. I was like, I would be embarrassed.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like even if I was by myself recording myself, I'd be embarrassed. And I wouldn't be able to. Now I don't give
Right.
a fuck. I dropped in
It's
front of
just
the camera, and
natural.
it's because I've been
Yeah.
doing it
You
for
just got
over
to
a
keep
year.
doing it. It builds out
Yeah,
that like callus, that camera callus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so now I'm like, well, man, maybe there is something to this, you know. So I launched my YouTube channel November of 2021 or something like that. It was like a year ago, 2 year, year and a few months, and then I just started getting subscribers.
Okay.
like my subscribers just started going crazy, and then that concrete podcast went viral, and then all of a sudden, all these other people started reaching out to me, and they wanted. I was flying out every weekend. I was going to Dallas. I was going to New York to do podcasts. I was flying down to Florida to do podcasts. I was flying out to California to do
That's wild.
podcasts. And before you know it, I'm at all these podcasts online with all these interviews, and then so I'm funneling all of those people into my own, so so my subscriber rate just keeps going up and up and up, and then I'm like, well, fuck, I love this.
Yeah.
I'm having fun. This is great. I get to just jump on here, and I'm getting all, I get all these people reaching out, asking me questions, and they're just interested in my story, and you know, so I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this, so then I just start making videos, about just random subjects, about how to be successful, and about, just positivity and the law of attraction, and how, just the universal. I just started just going deep and just making all these videos and
Yeah.
just posting them, And I started out with just a cell phone, a shitty cell phone in my
Right.
car,
Right. It just, yeah, you just videotape yourself just
and
talking.
that was it. And then I went from that to I built a professional YouTube studio in
Okay.
downtown Phoenix. I had moved from LA to Phoenix, and I built a professional studio, triple camera setup with professional lighting and everything in Phoenix. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking take this serious. And for a year in Phoenix, I just pretty much just lived in the studio every day, and I just made content every day. I did interviews, and yeah, it just YouTube completely consumed my life. So I was, I'm working in the tattoo shop during the day, all day, and I would get off 10 o'clock at night, and I would go straight to the studio, and I would just, create content, edit videos, and do all that shit until two or
Hell
three,
yeah,
4 o'clock in
man.
the morning. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that for maybe like the past 2 years or
Yeah.
so
And
now.
you still loving it? Still loving that?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I put out a podcast
Fuck
every
yeah,
Tuesday
dude.
now. Every Tuesday,
Good for you, man.
faithfully.
Good for you.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I dig it, man. I dig it. And then we're working on contracts right now with like a major player. I
Sure.
can't say I'm under contract, so I can't really say too much. But things are starting to happen right now, so this thing is
Hell yeah,
the
man.
wheels are moving. It's
Good for
gonna
you,
get
man.
made.
I'm happy
You
to hear
know,
that.
yeah. So I'm yeah. So when that happens for me, I'm sure my YouTube channel is gonna hopefully take off, and I can just continue to do my podcast, and I'm gonna build another a bigger studio this time. Put a little
Hell
bit
yeah,
more money
man.
into it, and yeah, I want to do long format interviews, and that's my future, I think. And hopefully I'll have my own little private tattoo studio.
Has the
You know, so that's where everything's
have
going
you
now. It's
seen
just crazy.
like from all this kind of blowing up, your people wanting to come to you for tattoos more often? Like,
Oh, I got people fly in
yeah.
from other states, like just from watching, just from like
Oh
fans of my
yeah.
podcast. Yeah, they fly out. Yeah, they fly out and get tattooed by me. I've had
That's
it
sick,
multiple
man.
times where the guys will fly out and book a whole
Oh
day with
really?
me.
Just to do a whole like big masterpiece
Yeah,
on
oh
them
yeah.
kind of thing?
Yeah, and another YouTuber who has a channel called American Meat Man, real cool dude out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. He actually was driving through Indiana a couple weeks ago and stopped, and me and him chopped it up, and I tattooed him, and
That's super cool, man.
yeah, yeah, this thing is taking on a whole fucking life of its own, man. Like where I'm at right now on this trajectory, I never in a million years thought that I would
What do you
ever,
think made
you know what I mean,
what do you
be
think
doing what I'm doing.
created that whole like shift, right? That whole shift from um in between Tesla and the tattooing, was it putting your book together that kind of like really was that piece of the puzzle that unlocked all this?
Yeah, it was really just a book getting published, and people, because to me, my life is my life, and I don't really see anything extraordinary about my life. But when other people read about my life and my story and everything that I've been through, apparently it's like, what the
Yeah,
fuck? You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is incredible. Which to me is just, it's my
just
normal
every
life,
day, and
But I guess,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So there's just a lot of interest surrounding my whole, circumstance, my story, my life, my journey. And it's just gone crazy, man. Like I wake up to 20 or 30 DMs on Instagram
really,
almost every morning, about people like, oh yeah, I watched one of your interviews, and just want to say, it's an interesting story. I mean, I hopefully you're doing good. And, I got people that send me pictures of themselves, like reading my book from like Austria and like
Hell yeah,
Australia. And,
man.
so just my stories reach so many people all over the world. It's absolute
And I
insanity.
mean, you
It's
get a sense
crazy.
of. I mean, maybe I'll position it as more of a question. Is like, do you get a sense of like kind of fulfillment or joy that people are like learning from your past and your experiences? Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Any way I can help people, I'm willing to do so. I thought about taking this
Okay.
one of two directions. I could be that guy that's like, I could teach everybody how to do fraud and give tutorials and be that guy
Right.
online. And because I got the
Yeah.
clout. Because to all these kids doing it now, I'm the
Right.
OG, I'm the GOAT. And I get the goat emoji all the
Really?
time from these kids who think that I'm somebody. Oh, you have
Nah.
no idea, because anytime you go to research credit card fraud online, it all
Really?
points to me. My interviews, my tutorials, my fucking book, my YouTube. Like
Okay.
I'm the guy like online when it comes to credit card fraud, and like for the past 20
I'll
years,
be
like it
honest.
all
I had no
points to me.
idea.
You know what I mean? Yeah, if you do any kind of research, like if you're like right now, if you try to get into credit card fraud and you just go online and research it,
It's
my
just
name's
like
gonna come
John
up.
Boziak right here.
Yeah, John Boziak, and it's not even, and I'm not
Right.
bragging about that. You know what I mean? Like
But
I don't give a fuck about
it's the
that. Like
crowd that attracts to you, right? It's like someone searches it, then they just fall into the John Boziak, like kind of
and they go down the John
right,
Boziak rabbit
right.
hole.
And then they
Yeah,
hear about your life. And so then
you know.
what is it like if someone comes to you, right, and they're like, oh, like, I'm getting into credit card fraud, like you're the man, like this is so awesome. What is your kind of take on like how do you position that, right? Like how do you navigate that conversation?
Um, I ask a few questions to kind of gauge where they're at with the knowledge and the process. And if they're only like trying to figure it out and trying to learn about it, I try and just tell them things
Yeah.
to deter them. Like, listen, man, when I first got into it, I lost thousands of
Right.
dollars. Okay, I got ripped off and scammed for thousands of dollars, enough to make anybody
Right.
else quit. But because I'm so goddamn hard headed, I just
Right.
didn't give up. You know, um, and I also try to explain to these kids that it's not how it is 20 when I was doing it 20 years ago. It's not the same thing. Like you're not going to find the same amount of success with this as I did,
Everything's so
you know?
tracked.
So I just try and let them know. Yeah, I was like, listen, it's not the same world. I was like, there's just so much more things, put into place now to stop kids from committing fraud, to stop the credit
Right.
card fraud. And I was like, listen, and I was like, you go to jail for this now. They're not playing any games. They're trying to make examples
Right.
out of people
Right. They want it to
now
stop.
because it's
Yeah.
so prevalent.
Yeah.
Because it's so prevalent
You
now.
kind of you
So
got lucky in those
yeah,
regards, you know.
yeah, I really
Yeah, I
did.
mean,
Yeah.
considering it was a fluke and everything, like, it's so bizarre, if you kind of just look at it super fast, right? If you just look at like the headlines or something, it's like, oh, he only got 24 months for, 3.5 million, 5
Hmm.
million, whatever that final number is.
Yeah.
But in reality, you got
Yeah.
kind of got saved from, what was it, 115 months? Like that's
Yeah, there was, like I said, there was just a series of random events that led to my outcome. And that's not would never be a never I wouldn't expect that to ever be a normal set of circumstances for anybody else that was, going into the same thing with the
right,
same charges.
right,
You know. So like I said, I got super lucky. And these kids now, like they're not playing around with this shit now. If you get caught for credit card fraud now, they're
right.
throwing the book at you.
You're done.
So like it just the risk isn't worth the reward, in my opinion now. The money just isn't in it anymore now. And I tell these kids that. I tell two or three kids a week. They're all hitting me up trying to get some information from me or trying to, learn something. It's just like, listen, man,
Is
it's
there
not the
anything
same
you tell
thing.
them to kind of like push them down a more, I guess, a constructive legal route as opposed to like scams?
Yeah, I give them, I says, listen, man, none of this shit is easy. I was like, all of this shit is extremely difficult to do, and it requires patience, it requires dedication, it requires self-discipline. I was like, none of this shit's easy. It's not dope money. I try to explain. It's not like you're gonna go and buy a bag for $20 and sell it for 40. I was like, that's not
Right.
how this works. You know what I mean? I was like, there's a lot of effort that goes into this shit, and you're still not guaranteed
You
success
might
at
as well
the end.
start a regular
I
business.
was like, so why not? Right. So I was like, well, why not take that same amount of energy and drive and determination and invest it into something that's legal? Because I was like, listen, these kids don't understand is there's just so many more opportunities available now than there was
Oh
when I was
yeah,
a kid. With all the social media and what's essentially
right.
free marketing, I mean, you could build a brand around anything now. You could learn how to code. You could do shit on Fiverr. There's just so many different little hustles online that are available now that weren't back then. So if you take that same amount of drive and effort and discipline and just, invest it into like Amazon FBA or drop shipping, you know what I mean? Or any one of
Yeah.
those fucking,
I tried drop shipping.
you know.
Yeah, I tried.
So
And
I
that's
try,
funny about your stories. It remind me about drop shipping, and it's no easy feat in and of
yeah,
itself. You have all these people. These people are
yeah.
like, oh, you can do it in like, I'm making $10,000 a month, and I'm doing it within a year. It's like, nah, it's not. Maybe they got lucky or something, but
Well, yeah, they had 40,000 to invest
right,
initially.
they
You know what I
failed, and
mean? And all,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, but yeah. So but I just like I said, I try and put kids on, like just there's so many more avenues to take now that like, it doesn't even make sense to do
right.
fraud anymore. It just
Right.
doesn't
And
make
I mean, that's so
sense.
powerful too that you're at least on the other side of it now too, where you're able to kind of see people that are going down that path that you kind of were going down and able to kind of nudge them and be like, no, no, let's go this way a little bit, to
Yeah.
kind of get them back on
Yeah.
that path.
Yeah, I just try and help the kids out, man, because I when I was a teenager, I didn't have anybody putting me down
Right.
anything positive. you know. So now if any kid reaches out to me now, I just try and, I keep it
Right.
real with them. You know what I mean? Like I keep it real, like, but I also try and be like, listen, dude, there's other ways. There's other ways. You know what I mean? You don't want to go down that path. Unless they're already, both feet in it and they're talking to me like they know what they're doing, then it's like, okay, well, I'll give you some advice, but
Yeah. It's
you
like,
know what
don't
I
do
mean?
it. Like, you stop when you can. Man, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, because that's what I was gonna ask you as well. Is like you're talking about if people are just starting, but if I guess people are at the point of scaling it up, like where kind of that where do you come in at that? Because I mean, I have no idea what the law is, but at some point, or do you become liable if you start helping people commit fraud?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think so. As long as I tell people, listen, man, I don't want to know any specifics of anything you're doing. You know what I mean? Don't tell me the who, what's the whys, the where's, the whens. I tell people right away, like, I don't want to know because I don't want to be incriminated. But it's like, if you have some questions for me that maybe I can give you some advice or point you in the right direction, then I'm willing
Yeah,
to do that. And even that's probably fucking bad, but I don't. That's just
this is where you're
I
at.
don't give a
You
shit.
just don't care anymore.
It's just where I'm at. It's
Yeah,
just where I'm at with it, man. Because like I said, I'm still a cool motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's like I still respect people that are out here doing this shit. It's not like I'm looking down on these kids because I was at that point at one point in time too. You know what I mean? And if I can help you, make a better decision and stay out of prison or, help you out a little bit, I still feel like I'm doing
I
something
gotcha.
positive.
Yeah, I mean, did you kind of yeah? I mean, and I guess that's the end goal, right? Is to try to help them stay out of prison or to help them find the right path, or I guess it's
Yeah.
like, well, to say the right path is so different per person.
I mean,
You're
everybody's
right.
on their own journey. Everybody's on their own fucking journey, man. So wherever they're going, regardless of what I have to see. You know what I mean? So, and if I can make that a little bit easier for you, with a little bit less headache, then
Because it kind
I'm
of like
willing to
speeds
do
up the
so.
process, or at least just gets you a little closer to wherever that destination is that you're getting.
Whatever they're
You're right.
chasing, it gets you
It
there.
helps you like realize
Yeah,
that, like kind of on the other side of things almost. That's awesome,
exactly.
man. Um, damn. Well, I'm kind of out of questions. uh,
Yeah, pretty wild,
oh,
right?
yeah, the cat's getting involved. The spirit cat. He knows it's probably time to wrap it up. Damn, John. Well, I really appreciate it. Usually at this point, I leave the floor open to you if there's anything you want to encourage people to do or advice you give people or, promotions. I'm going to grab all your links after we get off and throw them down below. So,
Cool.
floor's yours.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's just like I tell everybody. There's always another way. I deal with a lot of mental health issues. I deal with a lot of depression, anxiety. Um, so some days they're really bad, man. And so I understand, I think a little bit better than most what a lot of people are going through. You know what I mean? When they have those dark days and when they're just going through depression, or even when they're like just committing crime or they're on just some wild path. Um, I just tell everybody, just take a second to sit back and evaluate everything that's going on in your life. And if you feel like there's decisions that you can make to make your life better, then you have to pursue
Is there
those
anything
things.
you do to,
You know.
like, now knowing your history and obviously not wanting to repeat it, is there anything that you do when you like, do you notice certain emotions come up or anything that you kind of recognize and you're like, okay, I need to channel that into something else, or I need to do X, Y, and Z to get this emotion out of me?
Yeah, so I have an issue with like secular negative
Okay.
thoughts. Whenever I'm like going through a depression or whatever, it's just like I get locked onto like a certain like negative thought or a series of negative thoughts. All right, we're not doing this today, buddy.
Another cat
And
invasion.
so, and when I get locked into that secular just that crazy way of thinking, it's like I forgot where I was at now. I got lost in my
Like,
thoughts.
how do you get out of those thoughts? How do you?
You know, yeah, that's a good question, man. Exercise. The treadmill for me is just one of those things where if I'm like real deep down in depression, I'll go jump on the treadmill, and just, run 5 miles. And I know physically overexerting yourself and just tiring your body out, it works magic, man, with the brain. Sometimes coming out the other side of it, like a really just tough workout, um, it just changes the chemistry in the brain, and it just allows you to maybe be more optimistic. And I know at least it does for me
Yeah, no,
anyway.
I
So exercise is always just been my outlet for any kind of like mental depression or anxiety, or anything. I just go to the gym and I work
yeah,
it out,
I can certainly
you
relate
know?
to the whole gym aspect because it's has actually happened a couple times now where if I go a long stint without doing jujitsu, I'll like be contemplating on something negative or something I need to do, and I'm like, well, maybe I should
Yeah.
just go to jujitsu and see. I'll make a decision. I'll be like, all right, I need to go to jujitsu. I go to jujitsu, and the decision flips. It's like, no, you definitely shouldn't be doing that. It like, it has that energizing like clearance that like gets you more focused
Yep.
on the bigger
Yeah.
picture almost.
Yeah. I agree. And for me, it's
Running.
always been running. I don't know why. I just like to run, man. I'll go and I'll run, 3, 4, 5 miles. And at the very end of that, it's just like it's a complete
Right.
attitude adjustment.
And I mean,
It's a complete just a mind change. It changes the frame of
I had a
mind you're
girl
in.
on here, episode 17. She talks about how movement's just so important. And for her, it was like dancing. And so it seems like it's just, to hear
Mhm.
you kind of echo it, it's like, just some sort of movement, it's might be different for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, cool. Go ahead.
You
You're
know,
going to say something?
no, I was just talking about, like exercising changes the cortisol levels in the body, which changes the chemistry in the brain, and we are just walking chemistry lab experiments. That's basically what we are. It's all synapses and connections in the brain and body chemistry, and you know so you just have to learn how to
All right.
hack all of that. It's just like a computer. You have to learn how to hack all of these systems to find some kind of
And kind of like
balance
set
in your
yourself up
life.
for the best, like, I guess, possible outcome, right?
Yeah,
Optimization.
optimization. You have to optimize your life, your physical, your mental, and then your environment. It all
Right.
plays a role. I wake up every morning, I make my bed. The first thing I do, even if I'm not doing anything for the day, I wake up, I make my bed. I take a shower, I brush my teeth, I eat the same breakfast every single morning. I go to the gym, I take my vitamins, and I don't do anything else with my day until all of
Right.
that is out of the way.
I think that's so powerful. I think
You know what
the
I
whole
mean?
morning routine is so powerful, and hell, maybe even a night routine. But I know morning routine for sure.
Yeah.
Like, just
You're setting yourself up for
right.
success for the day. You're kicking in that motivation. You're accomplishing tasks. So you're already starting out the day with this feeling of accomplishment that okay, I'm doing things. I'm moving around. I'm
Getting
you
that
know
energy flowing. It's happening. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I just, you have to find some kind of balance in life. And I think that's just the most important thing to being successful. It's just to find some kind of fundamental balance in your life and have some kind
Yeah,
of routine,
and just
you
go with
know?
the flow of it, make it happen. Because I
That's
remember
it.
even when we were having our meet and greet, you were like, "Oh yeah, like we'll do it at this time because then I'll have like my run and my vitamins in, and we'll be out of it and ready to go." And I was like, "Yep,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds like the move."
Yeah, that's it,
Well,
man.
damn, John, I appreciate you for coming on, spending time. Wow, did not feel like 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
but here we are.
2 hours 35. Yeah, man. It's been a while since I've done
Yeah,
one of these actually, so
hell yeah.
kind of felt good just to sit down and do one of
I'm
these
glad you
things. I
got
really dig it.
got back into it. I'm honored. I mean, especially hearing your story and everything. Excuse me. Super
Mhm.
excited to see that documentary come out. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let me go plug
yeah,
all my
I'm gonna
socials real
drop
quick
links,
here.
but by all means, tell people where to find you.
Okay. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My personal page is Slum by Nature. That's SLUMBYNATURE on Instagram. My tattoo page is Boseak.ink. That's BOSEAK.ink on Instagram. That's all my tattoo work. If you want to book with me, if you want to see any of my art, I post everything there. I'm also on Facebook, John Boseak, and then of course my YouTube channel is Boseak Conundrum. Uh, you know, and like I said, I release a weekly podcast there. I also am doing some vlogging stuff, me and my girlfriend. So we got the whole Patreon. If you want to head over there at Boziak Conundrum at Patreon. And yeah,
I love
I'm
it.
doing it all,
I
man. I'm
love it,
making all the
dude. Just
moves.
keep doing it, right? The daily grind. Well, guys,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
again. You heard it from the man. You'll find those links down below. Other than that, I hope you learned something. I appreciate you guys tuning into this podcast. Thanks for sticking in there. If you learned anything interesting, I highly suggest you share it. Please leave a review. Other than that, let's grow together.
Awesome.